Oi, 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 Flat Earth British Martin Litka speaking here on a Monday night for an extra special show. Okay, we've got a special guest here tonight who is Ross, who's also in Wales land. Okay, a hidden British history Wales, and he covers a subject which is absolutely mind-blowing. I've been following him since basically I discovered him like literally maybe a week ago. He's been blowing my mind. And the weirdest thing about it is he's only a few miles away over the other side of the mountain there. And the work that he's doing is parallel with our work, guys. It is uncanny. The syncs are just mind-blowing, as I'm sure you'll see. And I'll just introduce you. So thank you, Ross, for joining us on Flat Earth British. We are absolutely... Well, I'm really excited about this one.
Not as excited as me, I can tell you. Thank you for the invite. Yeah, I'm delighted to be here.
Well,
I've just discovered your channel very recently, and I've been watching the videos. I'm getting hooked and addicted now. So there you go. So I'm very thrilled to be here.
Oh dear!
And I see all those wacky comments coming through. It's great.
There's no going back for you now.
No, that's it. I've stepped to the dark side now.
Yeah, I do a Saturday show. You should see the performance if I actually miss one. It's like... So yeah, this is a nice treat, and this is a subject, honestly, that I've been interested in all my life. I feel like that I should know more about Welsh history or British history than I actually do. To be honest with you, I can know more about American history than I do British history and European history. But obviously, I noticed immediately your field is alternative history, the hidden history, the same as myself. So like I guessing we've just been decoding, which is what I do. Did a bit of detective work, build up a case, and sniff test the official narrative, which always falls apart. Like you mentioned last night, battles.
Yes.
I was like, yeah, I spent a lifetime visiting battle sites and trying to find them.
No, it definitely falls apart. Yeah, and like I say, from what I've seen, I mean, there's massive overlap. What amazes me is that some of the things you cover in the videos I've watched is how closely they match when I'm not sure you've actually read the same materials and think, my God, you've got to the same point. It's more than paralleled. It's actually more like that, It's kind of overlapping.
And instantly, I thought we would meet somewhere in the middle, because I was recognizing some of the stuff that you were showing that you weren't sure of. And I was seeing some of the, you were showing me stuff. I was like, wow, that like last night's show blew my mind.
Thank you. Here we are. Good.
And you're like myself. You can just literally grab an audience and take them away on a trip for as long as you
well, last night was very unusual. I think I was influenced by watching a couple of your shows. I was being a little bit more straight history in the past. There you go.
I just can't believe, I was shocked actually to think that you were this close and you were this, tuned into this subject. I was like, how can this be? It's like there's an entire other area of people out there into the alternative history field outside of what's going on in my community, my community, we've got some unique ideas, but we've been at it a long time. I've been picking this apart for 7 years now, and I've presented tens of thousands of documents, etc., to support what we say. So some of the subjects you cover are blowing my mind. Wales, the country, the beautiful God's country, where God goes on holiday, by the way. Okay. Existentially, we know it fantastic. We just don't brag about it. Okay. Wales.
I want my other t-shirt if I know. There we are. Oh, Cymru anyway. There we are. Cymru.
Cymru Beth.
Well, thank you. Can I just say thank you for all. There's loads of messages welcoming and everything. That's so nice. I was thinking, what great people you got watching this. Fantastic.
I knew they were going to warm to you instantly because I did. I just knew it. I just thought, oh yeah, they're going to just, and when they, just hear you what you got to say and the information is fantastic. You grabbed me by your passion about, the erasing of history, and we feel the same. I do. It literally upsets me.
Well, it's just not taught, is it? It's not taught in schools at all.
No, the eradication of an older world just under our feet. And you showed stuff that I never knew existed, like a Valley of the Kings. I was like, what?
Yeah. Well, I didn't know this stuff until the last few years either. It's well buried, hidden away, but it is there. It's not dreamt up. It's all in the historical records. You get the old history books. It's there.
we've had snippets. Like in the last year, I've learned, I go on the Phoenicians, but I'm looking at other areas. And people being, saying that the Welsh are actually the original Hebrews. And then last night or this week, I'm watching you on your post talking to a guy, Luke, who's done a court case using.
Luke. Yeah, I can see more Luke this week.
Fantastic. He was using legalese, and he worked out that the top case, lowercase lords that they were talking about in the verses were two separate entities.
Yes.
And the possibility of Israel, the Israelites, going one way and the Hebrews going the other. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot more on this. I mean, this is the first few videos with Luke, and I have to say they're not easy. I mean, I've watched each one quite a few times, and I speak to him for hours. It is a bit tricky
stuff,
but it's worth doing because it's the real deep digging in. And the first thing on there is if you look at your Bible, my Bible's never far away. I'm not going to preach to you, but this is a really interesting book. All right, a really interesting book.
Oh yes.
And if you look at line 1. We've got in the beginning God, capital G-O-D, created the heaven and the earths. And then further down, then you get the Lord God, and he's creating earths and heavens. And then later on, you get the Lord, and they're all slightly different. And amazingly, they're all different gods. And other words in here, which I was chatting with Luke today, like sometimes the word was, like what was it? Let there be light, and there was light. The was there is not the word was that we normally use in our talk. That actually refers to Yahweh.
Yeah.
This is nothing like we're presented. This translation is
there's no J
deliberately
in
misleading.
Language. It's not Jehovah. It's not Jehovah. It's Yehovah. It's not Jeremiah. Jeremiah is Yerohiah. Jeremiah. So there's no J.
But there's like 3 or 4 gods on the first page. We think this is about one God. That's the amazing thing about it. And the Jehovah's like this Bible is about a God who's about 3 levels down from the Creator God. This isn't about the Creator God.
Yeah.
So it's serious stuff. So yes, you mentioned you got your hardline Christian friends. I know I'm a Christian as well. It's just like this is.
Well, I was christened, when I was 8-year-old. My mother thought because I was so wayward that I would get killed and I would go to hell. So she thought it'd be good if she got me.
That'll save you.
At 8-year-old.
Splash on your head. That'll save you, mate.
No, I don't do religion. I've looked into it too much to actually worship anything or anybody. Well,
the question is in this book, who exactly are you worshipping?
We know
there's 4 or 5 gods in here. Which one are you worshipping? Wow. And what the bit you're alluding to there, what Luke is showing is that you've got the early Bible clearly shows there was a pantheon of gods, a whole group of gods, very similar, if not the same, as the Greek pantheon of gods and the Welsh pantheon of gods, which is where I come into this story, where we got in the Mabinogion describing the pantheon of gods, which no one seems to realize that in any of the official things. And then at some point, the jealous God, Jehovah, said, right, you shall have no other gods before me. First commandment, you got to despair of all of those, and you only worship me. And then it becomes monotheistic. Then it becomes one God, but he's only one of a group. This is where and that's when the Israelites separate from the Hebrews. So the Hebrews worship in a pantheon of gods. Yeah. And then you've got the Israelites just on their one Yahweh storm god type thing. Yeah. Which crosses over a lot of unpublished stuff I got then for Wilson and Blackett, showing how all these religions starts and they all have an astronomical basis and a common story. So it's massive. It's massive. That's just one subject.
It is massive. It is such a mind-blowing, massive field. It's something that I wanted to delve into because of my past. As I mentioned, you talk about Cadw a lot. I've worked for them on Welsh monuments, and I've worked in archaeology. So I've had hands-on with this.
I'd love to talk to you more about your experience at Cadw, yeah. But I don't know if you want to do it now, but I mean, I'm just...
No, but they are very, very shady people, I must say. Yeah, very, very them. So Wilson and Blackett, obviously mind-blowing stuff. I reckon they are totally legendary in the field of alternative history.
Well, that's my main focus,
they've been suppressed, like the way other people, like, I don't know, I can't think of. Let me think of an example.
Well, Velikovsky got slaughtered.
Manuel Velikovsky was what I was trying to think of. Yeah, see, you're reading my mind. Yeah, the way he was suppressed, his information, exactly the same way as that. So, Yeah, I think it's invaluable. I definitely think there's a lot of truth in it. You know, the way they did their research was totally comprehensive. It was fantastic. So, yeah. And the two King Arthurs, you know, this is something I don't really know too much about, you know, from only articles I've read, not books. Okay.
Right. So, yeah. We could talk about all these things. I was thinking, we'll just chat away, but I did, because there's so many subjects, it's so vast. You obviously couldn't possibly cover all of it in, well, even one lifetime, never mind one chat.
No.
So I did not list, but shows you the covers of all the books, and that kind of goes through the subjects, or you can just, you know, talk about particular areas. Up to you, really.
Yeah, well, it's up to you, mate. The Cymroglyphics, the ability to read hieroglyphics in Welsh, yes?
Yeah, it's so easy. People, the book's Cymroglyphics, and it's Wilson and Blackett worked this out back in the 80s and 90s. But the idea's been around since the 1790s. Right. And it's because what they observed, even though they couldn't understand Egyptian, they could see that some sort of structure was similar to Welsh. So, like, in Welsh, rather than saying you are a good boy, you tend to say, there's a good boy you are. It's that kind of syntax, you know, you move the verb to the end, all this kind of stuff. And then it wasn't until, but there was going to be a proper academic inquiry into it from Oxford and Cambridge. It took them to the 1890s before they finally went, all right, we'll look into it. Then World War I came along and it all got forgotten. And then Wilson and Blackett, maybe deliberately forgotten, but got kicked out of the syllabus anyway. Then Wilson and Blackett came along and it just translates. People will be amazed how easy it is. If you've tried to learn hieroglyphs the standard way, and it's so incredibly complicated. And when you think about it, when you've seen it worked out, you can see why. Because at the root of it all, they are trying to make each hieroglyph into a letter and form words, whereas actually each hieroglyph is a word forming a sentence. So you imagine how difficult it is if you think you're reading a word and it's a sentence.
We're going on the Rosetta Stone, though, aren't we?
They're not even close. Well, the Rosetta Stone, they haven't translated that either. This is another weird myth.
Aramaic, Greek, you know, other languages. But yeah, you know, I don't trust the story behind that as well. It sounds like a bit of
I'm convinced. I got a very strong hunch, at least, that the Rosetta Stone is a fake anyway. It's not the real Rosetta Stone.
And if I tell you to do Napoleon, actually, and the story.
Well, I think there was a Rosetta Stone found at Fort Rashid, but I don't think that's what's on display in the British Museum. And I'll give my reasons are that I won't go through the whole story of how they got it back, but it's very covered in mystery. Then he went to the Royal Society, and they sort of sat on it for months and months and months and months, and then suddenly became available. Now, at the time, there was a big battle going on between, you had Thomas Young on the English side and the famous Champollion on the French side, both trying to crack, first of all, the Demotic script in the middle. Because at the bottom, you got this Greek stuff. They could read that. Then you got Demotic. One of them called it Demotic. One called it Inchoral. It doesn't really matter. And then you've got the hieroglyphs. So they assumed that and that say the same thing in three different ways. So they set about translating the Demotic and Inchoral. They couldn't do it. They couldn't even translate the middle bit. They still haven't done it. Everyone thinks the Rosetta Stone solved all the problems. They've never translated it. So I think what they had there, when they got this Rosetta Stone, the British were determined that they were going to translate it and make it and be the winners of the race, if you like. And there's a big thing because France was Republican. It was Napoleonic times. So they want to show Napoleonic Republican France is as good as the old monarchical. Monarchy, yeah, that's right. So so I think my theory is that during that period that the Royal Society had the stone, they've made a new stone and they've messed it up a bit. Because once you can read the hieroglyphs, you can see where they've messed it up.
I agree. They would do that. Like the Smithsonian, they just bury everything. They're not going to put the juice out on display for us to see when they're covering up a history.
Yes. And I think the reason at the time was because they didn't want some French smart ass to translate it when they'd failed. Or if they had translated it and didn't want to tell anybody. Either way, they didn't want the French working it out.
I have suggested, because we look into etymology on my channel and we go into language. And I mentioned past syntax earlier, and we break all this down as well. And I did post about like the way they punished us for speaking Welsh in the past. Punishment like the Welsh not, etc. But I come to learn that it was because Welsh language isn't affected the same way as the phonetics that's spoken. The Phoenician language, everybody's speaking in phonetics. Okay, the phonetic language. And Welsh isn't a phonetic language. It's
How do you mean?
I'll explain. I'll tell you what it is. No, it's the word's gone now. Phonetic / something else, but it's the lack of vowels in the speaking, like the way the German hash vowels that you get in phonetics. So it takes the spell out of. So the Welsh language isn't necessarily creating spells, the way that the phonetics is. Because this
I'm
language,
interested now. I'd like to hear more about that. Yeah.
So
because one of the theories. Sorry, go on.
So I think they just tried to get rid of Welsh because of that fact alone, that it didn't create spells. It's a musical, beautiful language with.
It could be, yeah. I've got a lot of things about English language. That was introduced because with
what about this?
The reason why the Welsh language goes all the way back to the hieroglyphs. The reason why I'll give the background story to it. Wilson and Blackett weren't setting out to translate hieroglyphs, and I wasn't looking out to find out how to do it either, because it all started off with Welsh history and Arthurian history, and then in the British history, any books written before 1700, when all the books seem to have got written differently, the history books, they always talked about the British migrating from Troy and from the Middle East, and the Welsh going all the way back to, Egypt and the Lost Tribes.
Or the Indus Valley as well. I've heard the Welsh originating in the Indus Valley, India. The original.
Yeah, I think explain that. I don't think they might have done, but there's the language. So if you look, so what they were doing there was following the migration trail back through the Mediterranean, and then you've got things like the Lemnos stone, the Lemnos stela, which describes the journey. But before that, Alan Wilson, by chance, got transferred in work to Italy back in the 90s. And while he was there, he was going around the museums, and he realized by this stage, by the way, there's an old Welsh writing system called Colbran, which is on our stones and that. They call it Ogham, which is just meaningless. You can read it in Welsh and Latin. And there's a system written down in 1520 by Llewellyn Sion. So it's way before Iolo Morgana was supposed to have forged it. 400 years before, there's a cipher showing how it works. So what he realized when he was in Italy, he could read Etruscan. So it's another thing in the books.
Well, Etruscan is originally Slavic by origin.
Well, it seems to read in Welsh, so I don't know about that.
Well, that's what they tell me.
I think this is where we're going to differ.
I post about the Etruscans quite a bit, and I've been to Tuscany myself as well. And I talk about the Etruscans, because they're pre-Rome civilization, and people keep telling me that their language was supposed to have had Slavic origins.
I think that's going to be there. And what we have there is, if you look at it, you can the official story of the old story of the British migrations was that when they would left when they go to Anatolia and they left the Middle East. So you can go back to the Bible, the Lost Tribes of Israel, all this kind of stuff. But anyway, what they would do, they were settled. I think they were the people that's called the Luwians, Luwians, which is a made-up name. Well, the Germans gave it because it's on an alluvial plain. It doesn't mean anything. But there was a metalworking civilization there that left suddenly around about 500 BC, which is when the Britons are supposed to have come to Brutus migration. So I go back backpedal a little bit. After the fall of Troy, which Wilson and Blackett then show is about 650 BC, not way back in 1200 BC. So that's another one of their books. Everything works. The Roman history, the Frankish history, the Jewish history, the British history, all works at 650. It's just the Greeks who mess things up for political reasons. They've been doing it forever. But anyway, so about 650, Troy's fallen. So you've got the people of that area. Half of them, or more than half, under Aeneas, migrated to Italy. And what Wilson Blackett would say, Etruria is the crossing the three rivers in Welsh. So you can see the three rivers they crossed to get to Etruria. And they became the Etrurians. And then a few generations later, you got, and this is all in the Roman, what they call mythology, but I don't know why this bit doesn't count. Everything else in Roman history counts except this bit. So then a bit later down the road, you've got a few generations later, you've got Brutus. And Brutus is said to have killed his father and his mother, was the prophecy. So his mother died in childbirth. He's accidentally killed his father in a hunting accident. Then he's gone back to collect the people, the Cymry, from Anatolia, and he's brought them to Britain around about 500 BC. And the crazy thing is, you can read the Etruscan using the Welsh language. You can just read them. I got loads of stuff.
Wow.
And officially, you can't read it. You can. It's in Welsh. And then you go back. Yeah, it's not that difficult. I'll give you a quick example with hieroglyphs, show how easy the hieroglyphs are. if you think you're trying to draw one example I always give, an easy one, first of all, is to welcome. Well, how would you draw welcome? You could draw someone with their arms out. It could be anything. Because welcome's a concept. It's not really something you can draw.
Huh.
So what I say to people, you have this rebus principle, which is a bit like Pictionary. You have to make it sound like what you're drawing.
Yeah. Like apple, a picture of an apple.
Yeah. So what you would do is, in Welsh, the word for welcome. Do you know any Welsh? Do you know the word for welcome? Welcome. Croeso. That's it, croeso. Well, croeso, the Welsh word for sounds a lot like croes, which is cross. And sure enough, you draw a cross, hieroglyphs, it means welcome. It is that easy. You now know how to do it. It takes 10 seconds. And one of my favorites is the Welsh language got this amazing duality. It's like it must have been designed for hieroglyphs. You have things like the word for a goose is gwydd, Gwyd, gwydd. Well, you think, why do you draw a goose? All over hieroglyphs, you see these geese.
Yeah.
There's a goose and a sun. What's a goose doing there? It's madness. Well, when you look at it, gwydd is also the Welsh word for knowledge. And next to it is the sun. And in Welsh these days, you have yr ail is the sun, but that's North Walian new pronunciation. It's a ral. Ra is the sun in Welsh. You can get your Welsh dictionary out. Haul. Put it together in the middle. You got RHA. It's Ra, the sun. So when you put the sun and the goose together, Ragwydd, well, the Lord, as in the Lord Jesus Christ or the Lord, is Ragwydd. So when you see that, you see Ragwydd, and then you put it next to someone's name, and it means it's a Lord. It's that easy. Once you know what something is, you just say it in Welsh and boff. It's great.
I'm still reeling over. You could read, Etruscan. Because my research,
Etruscan's similar as well. Etruscan's a little bit trickier, but not that much more difficult. You just need to know the cipher. You know what symbol represents what letter, because by this stage they've moved to letters rather than just drawing pictures. But the Etruscan reads,
I wonder what that means for my research.
Well, I was going to say, because you've got this Tartarian thing going on, isn't it? Have you read much of Flamenco then?
Yeah. Well, he goes on.
Done,
he doesn't go with the Scaliger Chronology either, but he goes on some evidence that he picked up from eclipses, basically. Because they are, you can pick them up at a certain time period in time. But
I've got my flamenco books. I think it's very interesting. Yes,
look, it's super interesting. But I'll just tell you on a personal level, I don't go with him. I see him as he's in the main paradigm. He shouted like there's no tomorrow. So in my mind, he is.
Where I think he does a really good job. I like about his work.
Fantastic.
I find very useful is the way he breaks down the nonsense behind Greek and Roman, the history and the Scaliger thing. Like you're saying, I think most of your audience will know, but the Scaliger is the dating system we use. This is the ladder with the dates on the ladder. And if you go to like 500 AD, that's where this happened. 300 BC, that's where Alexander is, and 100, that's where the Romans are, and 1400, that's where this is. But you see how big and dodgy the way that ladder was put together. It's full of very dodgy characters. Well, and it's amazing it's never been challenged, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got a book from about the Phoenicians in Britain, which just says
I want to hear about this Phoenician.
One essential source for Greek. To me, like Greek is a colloquial term for anyone in the Eastern Mediterranean. I think the classical world, because they all look the same, act the same, got the same gods. The Bacchus, Satyr, and all of these gods, or the Olympians in the case of the Greeks. It says that their core is phonetics, is Phoenician. It says for the Greeks as well. So sort of on that and other evidences. That's what's going on. And they're all over our architecture as well in our cities. You can't I want
to go to the architecture because I think you're definitely onto something there. With the language, though, I mean the story is that so just to finish on the language connections, because it ties in with India as well, is that if you go back to the 1840s, the linguists at the time, like von Bunsen and all these international linguists, they came to the conclusion that there was one original source language, some sort of ancient Assyrian, and from that, all what they called Indo-European languages all spread out. So you got Sanskrit, which is, in India, it's very similar to Welsh. You'd be amazed how much. I'll give you one to freak your brain out, for example. Buddha, the Buddha.
Yeah.
Well, Boida is the good life in Welsh. So, I mean, this is how close. I did translate what Sanskrit means as well. Yeah.
Buddha.
I've kept that up my sleeve. There we are, just for you tonight. There we go. And there's a whole load of from Michelle. If you're watching, thank you, Michelle. She's a language expert.
Oh, wow!
And there's this. So we got this one language, and what's happening in Wales, because it's right on the edge of Europe, and it's never really been invaded. The Roman myth and half a dozen Normans turned up, but apart from that, the same people spoke the same language, going all the way back. So Welsh is the nearest thing we've got to the ancient Assyrian. It's a bit weird when you think about it. They're walking around talking something that sounds a lot like Welsh, but it does work. So, so that seems to be the possible connection, rather than the language coming from India to Wales. They just got the same root, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and it's so similar. So that would be the similar thing on there. And the story is that the first writing systems comes from Assyria and Egypt and cuneiform, which I think they got wrong. And then the story is the Cymry, as they were passing through the Greek region, they gave the Greeks writing. Because the weird thing is with the Greeks, if you look at it, they're supposed to have invented writing about 1200 BC. But then they didn't write anything for 600 years. So how did they remember how to do it? There's nothing at all.
That's all they give us, though, in the curriculums and in the universities. Yeah. If you're a member of the elite, you're just going to get classical education. Yeah. So they got.
Well, why do you think that is?
Limited number of sources. It's Pliny, Pliny the Elder. It's Plutarch. It's it's always these same sources that we got for the antique world. Mm-hmm. We have found other sources.
Well, look at it. You can see it as well. Like our battleships and stuff. We're the only country in the world that gives our battleships foreign names. They're like HMS Achilles and Ajax and all this, Hercules. They're not our gods. They're foreign.
I never thought that. But it is the Phoenician thing.
What they did in the 1700s, they pushed out all British history and said, no, that's all just myths and legends and nonsense. There's no Arthur. There's no migration. There's no Troy. They invented the term Celts. That might shock you. We're not Celts. We're not Celtic. We never were Celts. The Celts are in the south of France. We're the Cymry, the Scots Alban and Pics and all that, and the English are the Cloiger. With the Celts, there's no ancient reference at all to Celts being anything to do with Britain, at all. It's completely invented, and it started with a guy called Edward Lloyd in 1707, who noticed that there was a similarity of languages between what they called what became called the Celtic languages, like Welsh,
Cornwall, Wales.
Cornwall, Isle of Man, they speak of Manx, and with what was spoken in Brittany. And so what he said, this shows that the languages come from Europe to Britain. Yeah. Well, he didn't realise, if you go to the 280s, Britain invaded northern France.
Yeah, well, Calais was a British city.
And stayed that way. Yeah, the clue is there. I mean, what is the language of Brittany called? It's called Breton, because it's the language of the Britons. And it's called Brittany because the Britons invaded it. Yeah. And the folklore is that in these whole historical books, I don't think they really did this, okay? But the way they put it was that when they married the local girls, they never went back. The army never went back. And they cut out the tongues of the mothers, so the mother tongue wouldn't be passed on to their children. So they would keep speaking the British tongue, or Cymry, or whatever it was, Cymraeg. So my pet theory is, if you want to know what used to be spoken in England, because most of that army came from England, it would be very close to Breton, I would imagine.
What do you make of this? I'll just show you a map that I've been excited. I've had this map, and you've got to appreciate now, Ross. It took me 2 days to dig this back up.
Oh my goodness! All right,
because I was excited to show you this. I don't know what you're going to make of it.
All right,
but what about this?
I know that map. Yeah. You put Welsh in it. Oh, cracking! Yeah, even better.
So apparently, in AD 500, going on that chronology, okay. The most of Britain is Wales.
Yeah, I think they'd be a little bit generous. There weren't that many East Anglians.
Even London. They're all Taffies. They're all Welsh in London. Yeah,
because the only thing I would say about that map is what they've missed out. There's two things. This is the other thing that's got missed out. People think I don't only go on about Wales. It's British history and English. So
and world history. You talk about New Zealand.
America, New Zealand also. But England. But if you look, what's not shown on that map anywhere is where's the English. And I don't mean the Anglo-Saxons. This is a lie. The Welsh, Scots and Irish were lied to and told they're Celts. And the English were lied to and told they were Anglo-Saxons. And they are not. Most of the English are British.
They would do that. They would do that.
Yeah, because it makes it easier to control, doesn't it? You think 1714, the first Hanoverian king came in. 1750, and a year later, you got the Jacobite uprisings. It's not that long before they were chopping off the heads of the French royal family. They needed to, quell the masses. It worked. It worked really well because the English are now full-on Anglo-Saxons and we're full-on Celts, and neither's true. It's bizarre.
Makes perfect sense. I see how they did that.
Whereas the French didn't do this, and they all got their heads chopped off. So which policy would you follow if you were the king? Would you go honest and have your head chopped off, or would you start deleting history? As Orwell says, that's the way you run it. That's the way you do it. And I think it's always been like this. I don't think it's a particularly.
I think they've done it over and over again. I think civilization.
Yeah, I heard you say that. That is interesting. Yes.
Yeah, this is part of my field. This is basically part of my literature too. Is this reset cycle?
Yeah, Luke said that the same thing this morning.
Yeah,
Luke would agree with you on that. Luke could see it from. You can see it in the Bible as well. How it's a constant.
Exactly. Yeah.
Everything ends more or less wiped out, and then we rebuild again, and then rebuild again. So yeah, that's what shocked me when I was watching one of your videos. I was thinking, oh, hang on a second, this is a complete crossover there. It both come to that same point. This restart thing. So I noticed on your last video talking about the mud stuff and all that. That I watched that probably the same one as everyone's watched, the long thing about it, and it's quite terrifying, really, isn't it? The thought there was no one around a couple hundred years ago. Absolutely,
the mud flood itself is a mind-blowing thing. It's for every town and city to be exhibiting 2 levels of building below ground level, which has. I've talked to many architects. Don't get me wrong, I've been in this a long while, and they just don't understand it either. So there's quite a bit of evidence to support, from when these buildings get excavated on the side, that there were streets below, and we got this for most cities. So we presume that there was cataclysmic events, possibly Noah's flood, that covered the place in volcanic ash, silt, and mud. And rather than remove trillions of tons of mud, they just dug the mud away from the front of the buildings, built retaining walls, and carried on business as usual for the next. For like Shakespeare said, all the world's a stage, and that's the way I see it, Ross. I think that they do like some sort of stage set, and then when it's done and they busted, because the fake history and everything else.
It's all about to implode, isn't it? We can all be agreed on that, I think.
Everyone's
money's all falling apart. Everything's going apart, isn't it?
It's falling apart. I know you're not actually a flat earther. I do appreciate that.
Hang on a second. I'm not anti it either. Don't get me wrong. Now, I'm not 100% convinced by either side yet. I tell you what I would say is the evidence for flat Earth is more convincing than the evidence for a globe. I would go that far.
It's more than that. It's when if you research, most flat earthers do this. They research heliocentrism, and that's like their subject, and they find out no time at all that these things.
Well, I can see the model of I agree with you. Yeah, I can see the globe model seems very flawed.
So
sorry, Vesky was just asking. And yes, Vesky, we do lots of stuff around the world. Yes, we do. Sorry,
people think simulation is this. We in a simulation. A lot of people think towards them ideals because of changes. But I think all of us can agree that there's something ongoing that we're all part of, and we're all experiencing things, synchronicities at exactly the same time, no matter where we are on Earth.
Yeah.
And all of the weirdness that's just gone down as well.
It does feel like we're coming towards some sort of end time showdown. I'd agree with all that. Yeah. So we're not a million miles away on that one. I just, like I say, it's far from convincing. There's no real evidence for the globe, really. But I'm not.
When you get out, it's in maths. There is. They pretty tucked that up, really, except for like coverage of the globe. They messed that up, really. But
I think I could. I'd spent a lot of time when I first came across the flat Earth stuff. What's this called? Jeranism or something?
Jeranism.
Yeah. I loved. I watched that. It was about 5-6 years ago, and I don't think I slept properly for about 3 months afterwards. I was like, "Wow, this is scrambling my brain." And he had his 100 proofs, and I went through almost all of them. There was a couple I was struggling with. But you could kind of knock all them out as well. That's the problem. I think it's very difficult to prove either way from being on the surface and on the way to. It doesn't seem to be a globe, I would say that. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm not quite as convinced as you are yet. I'm on the road, though.
Maybe they'll pull their finger out, all chip some money in, and get a nice balloon up there and take a look.
It wouldn't be that difficult, you think, would you?
Super duper laser tests, or a ruler a mile long would do it.
Yeah. Well, a laser beam, yeah. Because I've seen all that. Well, I've done the experiment as well. Has everyone done this? Yeah. You must have done this, where you go on Barry Island. Because I'm a good Welsh boy, and that's the best place on earth is Barry Island. And I did do some of the experiments he said when I took out my zoom lens camera. We'll probably get arrested on a beach for doing that, but the old thing where you can see the ship coming over the horizon. You see the mast, and then you see the hull and everything.
It surely does.
And you zoom in, and sure enough, you can see more of the ship.
Well, if you watch somebody walk away from you in a field, the same effect will happen.
Yeah, it's perspective, isn't it? Yeah. And the other weird thing was, I noticed when I went down with a zoom lens, was I could see the beach at Weston-super-Mare.
Seen it.
Not that far away. It's got to be, 12, 15 miles or something?
11 miles to Hinkley. So it's about
11, right? Yeah, it's about 12, 15 miles, something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if they're both exactly on sea level, because I'm sitting on a beach, so I am sea level, and I can see the other beach. There's something not quite right, isn't it, on a globe model?
It shouldn't only be dropped. What people don't understand is it shouldn't only be like there's supposed to be this curve that way. It's supposed to be that way as well. You're always supposed to be on top of this ball, so everything drops away below you.
I forgot. Yeah, you got sideways as well. Yeah, okay, I can see that.
But we don't observe this. You get on a plane, everything comes up to eye level, no matter how high up you are. The horizon always come up to eye level. And this cannot happen if it was a globe, because it would be dropping.
You're not that high in an aeroplane, are you? I mean, if this is the world, you're only about there. You're not like, you don't fly up there somewhere, do you?
No, you can't see a curve. Their argument is, you can see a curve from a plane. Well, they're lying, because in the official, if you Google it, they say you got to be in a V2 spy plane at 72,000 feet, the highest that they can go commercially or whatever. And then it's not just perceivable. So all of these people are saying that they've seen it. Lying. I don't. In my head, it's what the Bible says. Okay, the first words of the Bible tells you everything about what.
Yeah, you got a firmament, you got water above and water below. Yes,
and that's what I go with.
I tell you what, I've never read the Bible so much in my life as the last few weeks since I met Luke. He's done my head in.
I think because I instantly, because we're definitely in a Phoenician paradigm. We're in the maritime system.
The Phoenician thing, where does the Phoenicians come into it? Are they mixed up with the Cymry? Could the Cymry be the Phoenicians, perhaps? Because I don't know where they come into the history.
I'm starting to wonder now. You've said, about the origins. Have you there's ideas of Cleopatra taking a fleet and landing in Ireland? These stories.
I've heard of Queen Scotty, and he got the stone of scone and all that, where Jacob rests his head, and that's the crowning stone, which ended up in Scotland.
Maddock and his gang, getting a fleet and skipping to
to America, the 6th century. You got that one, but I think we're referring to with the Irish legend. You go back to Erse in the Book of Erse, and they talk, because they've got their history disappeared as well, because they do claim an Egyptian origin, and what they say is that which way are you looking on your screen? That's it. Well, the Cymry or the Hebrews or the Israelites, whoever it was, were fleeing or leaving Egypt. I wouldn't say they were fleeing. I think they'd looted the place empty and were on their way out. They were ordered to pursue them, and they refused, and they went the other way. So they went from Egypt across North Africa, heading towards Morocco, from where they went up through the Straits of Gibraltar, and then they ended up in Ireland. I mean, that's what their history claims. And that's why, and then you got red-headed pharaohs, which Wilson and Blackett then tie that in. It gets a bit complicated now, but I'll try my best. Is that with the Trojan War, because it's in Homer's Iliad. And
I've got the Iliad. I've read it. Yeah.
Particularly in the Odyssey as well. That it's all about Egypt, really. Those Greeks were in Egypt, Menelaus and Agamemnon. Yeah. And Wilson and Blackett showed this Ramses I and Ramses II is actually Agamemnon and Menelaus, and they're the ones with the red hair that are buried, because you had Greek city-states in the Delta, and the queen needed to marry someone because the inheritance of the Egyptian throne goes through the female side, and she had to marry someone royal, and there was no one around. So all of a sudden, all these little petty kings were all trying to marry Helen. I've forgotten her actual Egyptian name. Onesco. I had it for a minute. And Arsinoe, I think it is. Careful, I say that. So then you got this, but Egypt is a sideshow. It's not the major power that people think it was. was a very small. It was like the bread basket. First of all, you had the Assyrians came through it. The Assyrians had it for hundreds of years, a little bit of independence. Then you got this massive war between the Hittites and the Assyrians. And this is like, Troy is like D-Day. You know, for us, it's a huge part of our history. But if you look at World War II, you know, there's, whatever, 2 or 3 divisions of Germans fighting on the Western Front at D-Day. And then you've got, 100 and something divisions fighting over on the Russian front where the real war was being fought.
Yeah, agreed.
And D-Day is a little bit of a sideshow, which is why in the Homer's Iliad, you got all these people turning up from Africa and all over the place. Very much like World War II, where the empires are bringing in their various allies to go and fight this sideshow.
Well, the world
ends based in Greek.
The Iliad. The world gets reset in the Iliad.
Oh yeah, quite possibly, yeah.
It does, doesn't it? You know, they say Venus.
This is why I get my head round again. This idea of resets now, because
it rained petrol. Everyone got ignited, so it was some sort of like plasma reset, all in the Iliad. So
I went to the Velikovsky stuff now, isn't it? Where really when he talks about
just mind blowing as well.
Yeah, got all those books there because it's the idea then of that Venus and all the planets were in irregular orbit. This is the key to it all. This is the key to religion, the ancient stuff we talk about, the Iliad, all these world religions. Because the big lie is whether we're a flat Earth or a dome or a globe, whatever we are. From our perspective, we are taught this regular movement of planets like a clockwork, Newtonian clockwork. This is millions and millions and millions of years, the same again and again and again. Whereas all the ancient historical records, the Mayan or your Indian or Chinese or British, they all talk about these planets whizzing all over the place, and they must have been terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
Okay. Well, we call them in my field wandering stars, and I agree.
Yeah, wandering stars,
terrifying, yeah.
Yeah, well, they reckon that Mars, when it was on its cycle, when it came to its closest point...
Well, its ellipsis, and then came close into the atmosphere and really, really big. Yeah,
and it'd been red. It'd been 20 times
the size. I don't think in planetary terms. I don't know what they are. They could be plasma effects. But what I do feel from...
Well, the electric universe, it fits in then, doesn't it?
Yeah, if they come too close, then it causes...
Imagine like something 20 times the size of the moon, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger.
There'd be earthquakes, liquefaction, there'd be tidal waves.
Yeah, but that's why he's the god of war. That's why he's the destructing god, because like you said, you got tidal waves and all this electrical stuff will be coming off, and then in comes Venus saving it. And this is where you get probably some sort of electrical discharge between them, and this is where you get the battle.
It agitates the electromagnetic, and the compression causes a discharge, which causes melting and causes.
Yeah.
You know, there's I'm sure you've heard of the vitrified forts in Scotland.
Oh yeah.
And there's an
they
idea
definitely tie with the Arthur stories they do. It seems,
Yeah. There's supposed to be a comet destroyer in the first millennium AD that came across.
Remember the 570s? Yeah, something like that.
Yes, that's right. Which bounced and apparently. Split off 2 different directions as well.
Yeah. And that would be a dragon in the sky and everything, most likely.
Dragon in the sky. In one of my books, they talk about dragons fighting over the Bristol Channel. In one of my old books, and I'm like, are they talking about craft? Are they talking about what are they talking about exactly? Do you think dragons could have actually been an entity, as in a dragon's alive?
I think it's. I think it's like a physical dragon walking around. It might be unlikely. I don't know what to believe anymore.
Well, I don't know. I got just a lot of depictions like.
Well, I put a video up recently, and where it seems to go back, I would say the Welsh dragon. You can trace it all the way back to ancient Babylon, where you have like the Lamassu and stuff. And I put some graphics up. If you go back to the creation stories, I'm not an expert on this area, but I'll do my best. Where you've got it all goes back to the original created gods and the original planets. And what seems to be a comet coming in, which gets described as Tiamat. And Tiamat is the great demon dragon. And that seems to be the original dragon. And then, of course, in the star signs in the sky, you've got the constellation of Draco. Now, one possibility is that when you talk about blowing a couple of plot spoilers from forthcoming Wilson and Blackett stuff, but can't stop myself tonight. You teased out of me. There's when you got the Garden of Eden up in the sky, could represent the permanent stars. So, as you know, if you look at the sky, we're on kind of global, we'll say we're on a wobble or we're on like a moving thing. Whichever way it is, from where we can see, stars go below and above the horizon throughout the year. Whereas the central part of the sky is always visible. Always. That's the permanent part, yeah. And that's Yeah, the inside the ecliptic kind of thing. That's always there. Yeah. Well, and at the moment, we're lucky. We got the Polaris star at the middle, so we can always see where the center is or where
I
north
think that
is.
moves too. I don't think that's a static.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And what Wilson Blackett doing is ties all the way back to creation, when the original stars inside the Garden of Eden were not the same as we have now. And this is Adam leaving the Garden of Eden, is those, like exactly as you just said, not the same star. So Adam is kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And the serpent, the Draco as well, you see. So it's all tied in with that.
I get you, yeah. Wow.
So I don't know if whether a dragon was actually a physical big animal walking around. I don't know, really, because it seems to reply to comets more than anything.
Yeah, even the Japanese screaming banshee thing is a comet. Oh,
okay, I don't know about that one. Right. Yeah.
That's a comet too.
I look at Chinese dragons, and you can see their...
it seems to be only us and the Chinese that have got a thing for dragons, doesn't it?
Yes. And the key point, the difference, if you like, is with a Welsh dragon, you usually have 3 legs on the ground and 1 raised. In all the variations, you usually have that. And the pointed tongue and wings.
There might be something in that.
Yeah, I think it might be, because, well, you can see it on the old ancient...
You get it with the Italian griffin, too. It's got, and the imperial eagle hands, feet are down. That's a part of the code, that is. I'm going to have to look into that. Thanks for that one.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I have to think about that. I hadn't thought beyond the fact that the Babylonian one looks like the Welsh one. I didn't think of... So, on statues of guys on horses, do you know the feet are all significant?
No.
So it's like if he's got 1 foot up, it means he died in battle or something. And if the left foot's up, it means that. And if they all 4 feet are down, he died of an old age. They're all significant, the horse positions. Look, I can't remember how it works, but it's something like that. Maybe someone on the comments will know. Because it's something like that. 1 foot up means he got killed in battle, and 2 means 2 because he got killed, 1 he got wounded, I think it is.
Wow.
That's a random one for you. I don't know where you find out about that.
Well, let me just welcome all the people who turned up. We've got 6
say hello to
turned up. Thank you for popping.
I'm getting a Christmas mood. I'm on a little bit of Stollen. I get my sugar boost, my Christmas Stollen.
Stollen is lovely.
Happy Christmas.
Stollen. It's a bit dry without a drink, though. Drink's too wet without one. So I don't know if you want to share any things. We're coming up to just an hour now. If you want to share any pictures, I've got some stuff I want to just show you. You want to see some stuff concerning the added chronology or the possibility of it. See, I don't think, I've studied what come out of the first millennium AD, except for what what they propose. You've got like Bede, which is even later. Geoffrey Monmouth, he's even later, 11th century. So it's the Dark Ages. It's like, apart from like Charlemagne and a few other, prominent people of that era, there's nothing coming out of there. There's nothing coming out. And I find it fascinating that they say the Romans disappear and then they've just lost all culture for 1,000 years. We just forgot how to do anything. We've got all this hypercosts and villas lying all over the British countryside, and we don't know what to do with them. I think it's more likely that everybody gets killed in apocalyptic events.
Well, you got me thinking again now, because I'll look the other way. The reason they call it... sorry, I've just answered a couple of questions there. Brian Evans, I was just disappeared. God, your comments go so fast, don't they? I forgot.
Well, Brian is he's from Llanelli, Brian is.
He said something about the Welsh or something, and it's gone. It whizzed off the top.
Yeah, he's in Llanelli, Brian. We got a few Welsh people here.
All right, yeah, a couple of saucepans. Yeah, if you type Britain, someone's asking, thank you for asking, Brian, if you're Britain's Hidden History, one long word, you'll find me on different things like YouTube and Facebook.
Below, anyway.
Yeah, you got that there, yeah. But
I'll put this in there now.
You see, I've got this missing 1,000 years as well, but I'm glad you brought this up, because I could talk about all the books, but I really want to talk to you about this, because I'm also with Fomenko in that the 1,000 years is missing. I think they might have got the wrong 1,000 years. And it's because the reason why they call it the Dark Ages originally is because it's the British history. They didn't want to shine any light on it. There's quite a lot of evidence, actually, for early Britain. And I don't. It's very hard to describe it. But where I think the myth comes in, this is the book I would like to write, if I ever get a chance to write it now, is
why don't you?
I don't think there was, well, just time, that's all. I'm trying to crack on with it. Is the Roman Empire the myth? So when you see the Roman Empire disappeared, was it ever there?
Right now, it's just not a thing. I think it's a psyop. I really do. The whole Roman thing is a psyop. I think that it's, in this book here, which is the Phoenician origins of Britain, Scots, they proposed that Andrew, St. Andrew of Scotland, is.
So which book is this?
This
I
is
can see the bottom. All right, yeah, I can see now. Yeah. Okay.
Origins of Britain, Scots Anglo-Saxons, right? It's a really interesting book. They mention Brutus in this as well, but what they do say in this, and they mention Sanskrit epics as well, the Vedas and the Hebrews, is the origin. Is the title is Phoenician, and they say that it's pon or phoneg, and it equates to Greek, Roman. I'm not so sure about Troy, and the records show the 5th dynasty of Egypt, the Penag of the Hebrews. So the Hebrews have talked about it as well. So it goes on to say that Andrew of Scotland is actually Indra, the god Indra in the Veda. So this, they show you a lot of, engravings on things that they found in Britain, a lot like you show. On your post, but I'll link this book up. But
yeah, I want to look at the engravings as well because I'm interested in this because there's the 1924. I know it's the year of the book. It's a really interesting year because that's the year when they really sorry, blocking myself off. They completely changed the syllabus of what's taught in Welsh schools.
Right,
and it's another one of those key years. I love seeing books from 1924 because you can see the change in the story.
Okay,
between the books slightly earlier and slightly later. And that's right on the cusp. You see, that might be part of the new, because what they're trying to do, you have to remember in this period, is fill a void. The problem is they got rid of all the British history, which was all the way back to, I don't know, the Albi migration is supposed to be 1600 BC.
It's Ogham, yeah.
And suddenly they got rid of all of this, and they said nothing really happened before the mighty Saxons turned up, 600 or something. So they just got rid of 2,000 years of history. So everyone's like, well, what happened then? And they said, well, you got this Dark Ages, nothing happened. And before that, you got these Celts wandering over from Europe. And there's a danger with some of these stories that it's kind of stuff to fill the void, which is why the English public schools went over to studying Greek and Roman, because they got rid of all the British history. We're going to show you Greek and Roman. Why are we studying Greek and Roman history?
I haven't got a clue. It does my head in.
Well, it's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's rubbish as well, and it's not really exciting.
It's made up, most of it. Yeah, the Roman stuff.
Yeah,
but the Phoenicians, I'm always curious because they keep coming up wherever I look. There's Phoenicians, and I don't know who they are. I just don't know who they are.
They occupy
what you think they are.
Oh, there's the evil eye. Oh God! They occupy the territory of Canaan, which is the Holy Land or Lebanon. So
they could be the Canaanites, perhaps. Then you think?
Sorry,
the Canaanites, perhaps. Then, because that would make
sense.
Well,
yeah. Like Babylon is being attributed to being built by Cain, who was supposed to be a giant. Cain, as in. Cain and Abel, Cain, the murderer. So he's supposed to build Baalbek because it's impossibly big, and Palmyra, etc. All of the, the center of Babylon, etc., is known to be Phoenician. Their gods are Moloch and Babylon the Great, who is the whore of Babylon. Is this the Rosetta? Oh no, it's not.
It looks similar, but I don't think that's not it. No, the Rosetta Stone's kind of got a broken off corner like that.
Well, that's meant to be the early phonetics, the Phoenician language.
So when you're saying phonetics, you're talking about Phoenician then?
Well, apparently the phonetics came from the Phoenicians. Like the thing is about them, right, is their main city was Tyre. They had these famous admirals like Hiram Abiff, etc. They were said to have taken over Carthage. So they had the whole of Cyprus, they had outposts, the whole of North African coast. And the story goes is they infiltrated most of the world through trade and industry, through ports, because they're the people that bring the wine and the drugs and all of the bad things of society through ports, like Londinium, etc. And this is why all of the buildings and custom houses are the same in every dock everywhere in the world, all Phoenician coded. Yeah. The Phoenicians are these gods, some of them are like the Olympians. You get like, the Hermetic ones, like
because Luke was making a similar observation that apart from Wales, funny enough, which has got the heavily, but all around the world, you've all got the police, polizia and whatever, Italian, German.
Yeah.
A very similar code with the same code of laws. It's called Roman law, but I don't think it's Roman law. But I wonder if the Phoenicians, how closely connected they are to the British, the ancient British, or let's put it another way. Sorry, if they came from Canaan, how much of the British also came from Canaan? You know, this is what's difficult to work out, isn't it?
Well, in our thinking, in my school of thought, is that these Phoenicians took over a golden civilization, a civilization of free energy, and people living a long time, people being a lot bigger, people just living fantastic. And these Phoenicians, the classical world, or whoever they are, they call them the Romans, you know, whoever's, you know, Augustus taking over Britain, whoever, Julius Caesar. But I think these people were the Phoenicians. I really do. And there's another sea people.
But do you think that's us, though? That's what I'm asking.
I'm thinking, because they are in control now. If you went into a court, look, everything is maritime associated. So even the birth process. So
you go to the dock,
birth through the canal. You go into a court, you go into the dock. Everything in their legal language is associated, even in the banking world, liquid finances, to be in liquidation, currency, you know, the currents, you know, everything is associated.
I definitely hear that.
Yeah, in the legal system, in banking world, and in trade is tied in with maritime. Yet we're on the land. So you go into a court, they use maritime law. We're under maritime law on the land. And the language that we speak is phonetics, which is from originally, they say, the Phoenicians. And they're all over our architecture in the modern day now. So we think that the classical world was destroyed. Wherever these Phoenicians come from may have been somewhere else. We feel that they took over a golden civilization. And they, you know, they're highly corrupt. You know, the whole thing that they tell you about Rome and the way that they carried out their civilization is highly suspect. There's no way to run a civilization. They're very, very, very dark.
Well, it seemed to have lots of fun, didn't it? I don't know what. No, it's horrendous, wasn't it?
It's horrendous.
And this is one of those flip things in history, whereas they call everyone else the barbarians, isn't it? You know, they're taking their children to watch people fight to death or get horribly tortured as an entertainment, and everyone else is a barbarian. It's weird, isn't it?
Well, they're the strange virgin
coming from that. It's trying to work out who they are. It's the challenge for me.
So even Troy was being attributed to the Phoenicians as well, because Helena Troy, you know, the face that launched 1,000 ships,
right?
You know, the biggest fleet like armada ever. You know, we've attributed to being the Phoenicians because they were the power in the Eastern Mediterranean at that time. So this is like they've got this as well, look, but the foot is down. This is Phoenician. And they got the dragon. Or it could be a griffin. It's difficult to say.
It's almost a ram's head, isn't it? The one on the left looks more like a dragon.
Well, that looks rammed. I get ram, yeah.
Like a ram, the one on the right more. I don't know, yeah. It's good fun working out what these things are.
So no, you see, like, so, you know, in Mesopotamia, the Assyrians, etc., you know, there are all these winged deities. And we try to work out, you know, what exactly all of that means. And they seem to have some sort of advanced technology in a lot of it all. And
yeah, that is an interesting part of it as well, yeah.
Yeah, and that looks Greek there, doesn't it? You know, some of this Greek, you know, I can get my head around some of it, and some of the Latin I can get my head around. I've been reading it for so long.
One of my little pet projects I've started on, which I haven't made great. Well, I have made quite a lot of progress, but I can't put it out very well. Is I think Latin is actually quite a recent invention.
Right.
This has shocked people. I don't think that's a language of antiquity. I think it might be very recent, and I think it might have come from British, if anything. But I don't think it goes back that far, Latin.
Well, it's dead,
and I think it's part of the invention of the legal fiction, the maritime law that we're talking about.
Right.
Was to create these languages. Like the English language, I don't think is ancient either.
Like legalese, that we can understand the Latin, and only the Vatican will use it. You know.
Yeah. And it's not really a spoken language, Latin. No one really speaks it. Apart from when they're showing off or in a court or something, you know, it's it's like a universal language of law. And I'll know a lot more in another couple of weeks because I want a big thing. A lot of videos came up with Luke, but I mean, it's I'm very convinced. I noticed you were doing the thing as well, talking about the missing one at the front of the millennium date. You know, 1966 is actually J966 and all this kind of thing. Well, I think the whole Latin language. I don't think Latin goes back that far at all.
That's really interesting. You should say that. I haven't actually thought that, but it would make sense actually. Now I'm thinking about it, Ross. That would make perfect sense, especially with our ideas.
There is one, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
We're not pure very long. So the the designation is like is Zeus, which is the I you see at a lot of in the front of a lot of these. Okay, the J is not in Hebrew, so that must have come along later, after post Renaissance. So that would be Jesuit. And anything X111 is Christos. But an interesting thing about the chronology, Ross, is I was reading into Scaliger, and he died in 1609. Now, 1609 is a reset year. And how do we know that? Well, they had a giant tsunami in South Wales. And it's...
Oh, 1609. Okay.
No, this is the thing. It's got two dates. There's a plaque in Newport that shows you on a church how high it went. You can Google.
Yes.
I posted twice. It's on my channels anyway about it, and it says 1606 and 1609. So it's 2 years, 2 different years. The reason being is because they changed the calendar at that
Not because there was 2 floods then.
Well, that's interesting. Now, what interests me, you talked about St Mary's Church, right? Last night in your post. Well, that was taken out in the tsunami. St Mary's Church is on the John Speed map behind me, but like St John's Church never got affected, and it's like 2 minutes away. I just don't know what's going on there. And the leper colony, I've been in it, Ross. I've been in it.
Yes, there's no one. Does anyone out there? Did you find the leper colony yet?
I've been in it. It's not there no more. If we're on about the same one,
there's one in Cardiff. There's one up in St Kenneth as well, wasn't there? And they both seem to be associated with St Mary's Church. That's what. The St Mary's Church, there's one in Cardiff, obviously St Mary's Street, which is like stuck in the back of some nightclub, wherever it is these days.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it is. The Philharmonic. It is the Philharmonic.
Yeah. Oh, the Phil is it? Oh, my old favourite, my old stomping ground, the Phil. Yeah. But then there's the other one.
There's films in there. I doubt that.
Pardon?
They used to show naughty films in the 70s in there.
I'm not that old, mate.
How old are you? Don't mind me asking, Ross.
The Philharmonic was a very respectable establishment when I was there, I assure you. Yeah.
Not in the 70s. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking, Ross? Am I an old man here?
No, you can ask away, mate. You won't get a proper answer, though, because my official line is every September the 1st, I'm 36. And then when it comes round to March the 1st, I renew and become 35 again. So I'm 36 at the moment. So there you go.
All right. Well, as long as you're not 33, we're all right.
Yeah, I'm 33 until I become 66. And I wasn't 33.
I went from 32 straight to 34. I didn't have a 33.
You skipped that year, did you?
Yeah, just didn't happen. Didn't have one. It was a bit like 2020. Just didn't happen.
Yeah. I was born in a year with a lot of numbers in it, so that's the only clue you're going to get. So there we are.
You can't trust anything in stone. This is in lead on a church, and they got this weird sort of I designation thing going on. It's just you see this so many places. Oh, the J.
I was watching a video the other night. Yeah, and also Flamenco talks a lot about this.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. I think it's a thing. I think it's a very, apart from the fact that they altered the calendar in that time of the tsunami, when the very year the Scaliger dies, no less. So I think there might be something in that. There's later calendar changes. You get the Common Era comes in the 1700s. You have the railway times came in the 1800s, and other shifts as well. So they keep changing the calendars every time this happens. There's a death in monarchies. Every time a reset happens, there's a death of a king. There's usually a comet, and then everybody dies, and then there's a new civilization comes along.
Yeah. I was talking to someone today who's got quite good, his old Scaliger, yeah, and his father. Did you see his father's name?
No.
You checked out his father's name? What's his father called? Go and have a look. Must be on there. Have a look. What's his dad called?
Let's have a look.
Son of, does it not say? Son of, here we are, yeah. Scaliger was born at Agen. The 10th child and the 3rd son of Italian scholar Julius Caesar.
No way. Jose. Do you know what? I was going to be in a convention last year in Italy.
So was it really Julius Caesar? Or was he just in honor of his dad?
Wow. Yeah, well, I was going to listen to this. I was going to go to a history convention on Lake Garda in Italy, next to his castle, talking about the added 1,000 years. That was what the convention was about.
Oh, that would be brilliant.
Right, yeah, but the epidemic happened. And
the wheels squid mad, didn't it? Yeah.
He used to go around with the Habsburgs. The Jesuits hated his stinking guts by all accounts. Tried to bump him off. So obviously the Jesuits are not very good at anything because they could have bumped him off easy.
and poisoned him or whatever.
Yeah, because he moved around a lot, didn't he? He never had. I mean, you think today how much
France,
research,
Spain, yeah.
You think how much research we can do today using internet and
Amsterdam.
I'm supposed to be moving house, and I just can't face moving my books. And this bloke, he's moving all over the place. He's being persecuted. He's on the run, and somehow he's such a clever boy. You managed to work out the entire history of the world. It's ludicrous when you think about it.
You're onto something there.
At what point is someone going to go, well, hang on a second? It's to say he's right. This is nonsense.
No,
but it just suited everybody, didn't it? It suited everybody.
I would be in trouble with my books. I've got way too many. I've got about 10. I need an entire truck for my books.
I'm dreading it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it again. I'm staying here. The family can move. I'm staying here. This looks huge on the camera. It's like whenever
it's lovely where you are, though.
They have a real shock because I'm actually in the old utility room. This desk there used to be a washing machine under here. This is like, you think it looks like a huge room. If I do this, I can actually touch the books.
Yeah, but that's brilliant. What a waste when it was just bikes and stuff in there.
Great. Yeah, this is brilliant. I love this room. This is the hardest thing to leave.
You're professional. You can make a man cave anywhere like me.
Well, I'll have to start again. It takes years to make it a properly lived-in man cave, doesn't it? That's the problem. Do you want me to go through the books quickly just to show them, or we?
Yeah, please do. Yeah, highly interesting. Share what you want.
Oh, yes, this is the problem. I got to work out how to do this now.
No, you just did it. You just did it just now, and then I just click your.
Oh, you have to click something, do you? Yeah. I can't see you, but you can see what's going on. Yeah. Right? Can you see?
Not yet.
So all I'm looking at is my picture now.
No, nothing coming up just yet.
I know I haven't done this. I usually use Zoom when I do these things.
Oh, I could have downloaded that.
Let's try again. No, that's all right. I can do it again. We'll have one more go.
I just had everything uploaded and ready to make it. Otherwise, it takes hours to put everything in.
Yeah, don't worry. No, it's all right. We can. Oh, I got to click on the share button there.
Yeah, you got it. There you are.
Can you see this now?
You've done it. Yeah, you are.
Are you seeing loads of books?
Yes.
There we go. Now, before anyone says I put these in some sort of cryptic message or anything, my 10-year-old made the graphic, all right? Because I have this with my rabbit as well, okay?
Oh, I got a rabbit in my room now. You haven't got a rabbit. I'm liking you more.
I got white rabbits, man. I got so much stick. I feel obliged. I got black rabbit. I got white rabbits.
Yeah, that's because of the white rabbit code, man. It gets you in trouble.
I had so much stick about it. I'm like, my boys chose this for their bug bed, and I nicked it because I got a really ugly boiler behind there. I wanted to hide. There's nothing. All right. So there's some of the books. That's really all the books we do. In fact, I'll just go because if I go through quickly, give you an idea what we do then.
Okay.
So this is what we call the BBBs. If it's not too politically incorrect, the big black books. These are the big three that first Wilson and Blackett produced.
Right.
So we can talk about the subjects as they come up then. So you got on the left, Arthur and the charters, and the charters are the land of charters. And what that refers to, in the old days, they had the big Bibles, and they'd write in the margins all the land grants and who gave land to who. And it's interesting to see what's written because they do this on Bibles and stuff. So you can see on the records. Unfortunately, this is in Lichfield. And apparently they're writing all about Welsh land grants and everything up in Lichfield when they borrowed it and should give it back. It's one of our most important books.
Wow.
But also in there's a bit about the origins and the migrations. We've touched on the migrations already. Arthur the Walking is great fun because this is the only time they actually wrote a novel. Because by the way, they are still alive. I go and see them quite regularly. I look after them.
Wow!
I put it in the past tense there. I shouldn't have said that. I should have did the past tense.
Oh, I'm touched by greatness.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. We're like, he's like my father figure. Alan is now. Alan Wilson. Yeah. No. Great.
I can't believe that. You know him. Oh wow.
Oh no, I do all the publishing for him now. I've got all their notes here. I've got folders all over the place. So anyway, I'll show you the sort of thing I get.
He's 89 now. Somebody just saying, Kay, one of your peeps, I think, KW.
Okay, yeah, Kay's great. Yeah,
Kay. She spoke to me and she's awfully nice. Yeah.
Oh, can you see me at all on the screen?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so you got these big folders. They give me all these notes, and it's like,
wow.
It's like Mozart originals. It's incredible because they look.
So I guess you're like one of the world authorities now on this subject, taking the baton.
Well, put a bit of pressure on me now, and I'm just the reporter. That's why.
Well, who else is there? Who else?
I'm up my game, aren't I? I've got to do it because he's Alan will be 90 in June, so we'll have to have a big birthday party for Alan in June.
Right.
No, it's up there. It's been great because we got a good bunch of supporters, and they are old and they are isolated, and and life's not easy for them sometimes. So. We had a fundraiser and people in the group raised money. It was great. Went up there and we fixed their roof.
No
did
way.
their gardens, got cleaners into their house, all this kind of stuff. Oh, yeah, yes, it's a living project. This is, yeah. It's not about my writing. As I was saying, I'd like to write the book about whatever it was. My big job, more important to get my books out, is to publish all the unpublished stuff that Wilson and Blackett have done. That's my main purpose. So that's why I say I can't do it. So I got all their stuff to do first. So Walking's great because that's like a novel, and it's good all through the battles of King Arthur, really. But what it starts off with is he sets it up with grandfather Tyth Tudrig, who died at Mathen, the crossing up there, in Tintern Abbey and all that.
Tintern, yeah, of course.
Yeah, so Myrig's the father of Arthur, and he explains how he becomes injured, and then how Arthur becomes the young king. And then we follow his campaign, fighting the battles up through Scotland and all that. But this is written as a novel. They were trying always to get some acceptance. And then Arthur, King, Glamorgan and Gwent is the one that's really got all the Welsh stuff in it. That's really good because it's got all the all the sites you can go to and that kind of thing. It's quite detailed, the Welsh history that's been just obliterated. And you can visit all the sites and that kind of thing. So they're the big 3 books. And what would happen was they were more or less unavailable. And people were putting them on the internet for hundreds of pounds and stuff. And to me, that was a form of censorship. And I bumped into their work not that long ago, well, probably 7 years ago now, so it's been a while, on Rich Planet, where they did the forensic historians interview.
I watched it.
Yeah, you watched it as well, yeah. And
I've seen it, yeah.
I got so interested in it, I managed to track them down and meet them and get their books. So now all the books are available again. You can either go to Cymroglyphics.com or
I got that link.
Amazon. Yeah, I'm just saying, because I'm sorry, I'm not giving a hard sell. I'm just letting people keep asking on the comments where they are.
Yeah,
and it's and they're now back at normal prices. And the old books then, which have run out. Oh, I'll come on to this book first. We've reprinted and republished, like Trojan War, Moses and the Hieroglyphs. And I'm working through all their books to make them available again at reasonable prices. Because some, I don't know what's happened to them. Talk about. I don't like to talk about this. I avoid it completely with my group normally. But just to give you an idea, when they brought out the big black books, they were selling really well in the Cardiff bookshops. And then people came round, I don't know if they're historians or they're spooks or whatever they were, and insisted the shopkeepers took the books down.
No way.
You could go in and ask for the book, but they couldn't be on display. I mean, that's what they're up against. It's been dreadful, the persecution they've had. This is one I always recommend for people if they haven't read any of their work before, Artorius Rex Discovered. And this is where the idea germinated for me about there never being a Roman Empire. Is some of the stuff they point out in here, because what Wilson and Blackett do brilliantly is they show that the British kings of the period, hang on, I put a chart up actually. They give you all this kind of stuff. So you all these kind of tables. This is the British. See, the British royal family can go all the way back to 500 BC. This is why it's so unpopular with the current royal family. They claim 1066 and say 1,000 years, haven't we done well? So yeah, but the British or the Welsh royal family goes back 2,500 years. So they're not very popular with them, are they, you see? So there's Arthur II. There's the one right in the middle. This is the famous Arthur, the son of Myrig. Wow. He's the one on the round table, the knights, and he's, Caer Melin is the where we think Camelot was, just outside Cardiff. It's there. I've done a video. You can look up Caer Melin or Caer Melin, if you want the North Walian pronunciation, or Caer Melin. Caer Melin, when the Normans took the story back to France, became Caer Melot, which became Camelot, it would seem. So that's where you get Camelot from.
Wow.
And what's really frustrating is my cat has come to disturb me.
Oh, you've got a cat too.
Out now. There you go. Quick wave for the camera. Isn't that the most beautiful cat? Completely black.
Oh, that is so gorgeous.
That's why people think I'm a witch. Hang on 1 second. Why'd you have to come down with me? Ignore me all day. Here we are. Never try and understand cats, eh? No. So there's so you got Arthur II there, and he's so this place you go up to Caer Melin, it's a disgrace. It's called Castlefield. You've got the old the place there is you can see some of the footings of the towers of potentially a large castle. And the LiDAR, when you can get the LiDAR for that bit, you can see there was walls there. And but officially there's nothing there. There's just nothing there.
Where is it exactly? Outside Cardiff?
It's up on I tell you exactly how you can see it. If you look at the easiest way to look at it, the 2 islands we got in the
Steepholm and Flatholm, yeah.
Yeah, or Echny and Rockney, let's get the Welsh names back, is if you drew a line down the middle of them, where it hits the land up on the Lisvane Ridge, that's where it is.
Right. Wow.
It's in a direct straight line. Yeah, a friend Robert Pierce spotted that. It was a direct line there. And I've got a video on a map, and you can see it. It's behind the Dutch Garden Centre, if you know where that is. Junction off the M4. You must have gone past it. Dutch Garden Centre. It's huge.
It's St Mellons.
It's that way, yeah. Just east of Cardiff, yeah. And there's Arthur 1, anyway, by the way, just while I'm on this map. I wasn't going to go through all this, but he's up there. He's the son of Mascon Ledig, who's become known as Magnus Maximus, which is the Latinization.
What about Constantine? That's not the Constantine, is it?
Yeah, it's Constantine. Yeah, he's British.
Right.
Yeah, Constantine's British. Yeah, and a Christian. Well, Christianity started in Britain. It didn't start in Rome.
Yeah.
It started during the first century. It's the first Christian country on the planet. I mean, that was just for you, all right? I called it a planet. Just to wind you up. The first Christian country on the plane.
Somebody, Matthew here. You don't mind taking a couple of questions?
Oh, yeah, fire away. Yeah, I love it.
On about Tintagel Castle here. And it is absolutely mind-blowing. The thing looks like it's been melted and obliterated.
Yeah, well, there's a few problems with Tintagel. The first one is what you see there is a Norman edifice, which was probably built in the 12th century. So it's about 600 years too late, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, right.
And Tintagel is in North Wales. Tintagel. It's not Tintagel.
Okay, and that's in Cornwall.
Yeah, the one in Cornwall is a bit of
it's another distraction again to show you somewhere else, you think?
Yeah, a bit of a tourist trap, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, that makes
sense.
The
other one, we got the worst one with the Romans is the Caer Mead, which is near Atlantic Major.
I think there was a book about that you were showing. So
archaeological dig and everything.
Photos.
They found a British palace there.
Wow.
They thought they were digging for a Roman fort or something. They dig down, and of course, all the mosaics and everything are all obviously British. You know, you've got the old knotted styles and all this kind of thing. So what do you obviously do? You go, yeah, we found a British palace, just like it says in their records. This must be the one built by Owen, as in Ystrad Owen, town of Owen, just up the road.
Yeah.
This is awesome, man. A 2nd century British fort. It shows the Romans weren't here.
I got a map.
It shows the British were rich. So what do? You send a couple of blokes down, you stop the dig, and you fill it back in again.
Exactly. I got a map that shows, the Glamorgan being the absolute juice. They have like Wenvo Castle, which is not there anymore. But on the map, this old map, it's like I think it's like 1400s map. It is. Right. It shows like these just giant castles. And there's absolutely nothing there. There's only like remnants, but they're all over South Wales. All of them.
Yeah, it's depressing, isn't it? I'll tell you a bit of trivia I saw for the first time yesterday. I've given away all my little secrets now. These are my little plot spoilers for my forthcoming videos.
It's giving us more to watch. You're just interested.
Yeah, I'm giving it all away for free here now. What do you think the longest armed conflict in world history is? The longest continuous armed conflict. I didn't know this till a few days ago. It absolutely shocked me. I'll give people a chance to have a guess. Don't give people a chance to have a guess, or you just want to dive in with the answer. So we'll come back to it in a second, right? Give people
the 100 Years' War, I would have said.
Oh, much older than that.
Oh, much older than that.
Older than yeah. I mean, longer. Sorry, longer.
Punic Wars.
Yeah, not even close. There's I'll blow the gaff, right? The Normans arrived in Wales about 1091.
So they say.
And they tried to trick their way in. And the war between the Welsh and the Normans continued for another more than 350 years.
Wow.
Of continuous warfare. And the Welsh had just as many castles as the Normans did. And the Normans took those castles. They didn't build them. One of the maddest, there's a plaque in West Wales. Oh, which Plasty Castle is it? It's hilarious. I hope it's still there next time I go back. On the blue plaque thing describing the castle, the first part of the legend explains how the Normans captured the castle, and then the bottom half explains how the Normans built the castle.
So it's massive.
You tell me how that's possible.
Oh wow! They just don't think people are going to think into it that much.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's madness. I mean, I'm sure the Normans added to it, extended it, modernized it, all that kind of stuff. But there was a Welsh castle there. It's
crazy, you know. A tiny little country like this, and we got more castles than any other country.
Yeah, we got stone everywhere. It's like, of course, we got castles. And I'll just put this list on the screen if you can still see it. Is there just quickly there? What you got is the left is the list of British kings. All this is in the Arthurian Rex books, and I talk about this quite a bit. If you go on my, I got a playlist. They're only short videos. They're called the myth. Roman myth or something like that, myth of Rome, Roman myth. And this is how the names get Latinized. And what you'll see is they all live, if someone lives for 40 years, the British guy lives for 40 years. If someone's got a civil war, he has a civil war. If one's stupid, the other one's stupid. They pretty much seem to be the same people. This is what amazed me when I read Flamenco the first time. It's what Alan Wilson has done. It's a similar kind of analysis to what they do, isn't it? They look at durations of reigns, numbers of children, famous battles, things like that, and they try and correlate them mathematically. And if the graphs are similar, I think there's a little bit of smoke and mirrors and witchcraft going on, but that's the same sort of principle. I'm not convinced of everything they say, I have to say. And there we go. Something else I saw you show quickly. We're talking about castles. That's almost like I planned that. You just mentioned castles, and hey, look at this, Matt. Look at this, Matt. I got castles for you.
Pictures of castles, Welsh ones.
Yeah, there you go. So this is the South Wales coast. So you can see here all these little castles. Because all this is cliffs. People don't realise most of it's around here.
Well, do you know we went to Llantwit Major last summer? Me and a couple of my friends and my set.
Yeah.
And my friend.
And it's devoured, yeah.
And she's standing basically under the cliff, and I'm like, and there's an overhang, and I'm going, come away from me, you'll get killed. Yes. Literally, we come home 3 days later. They come up on my phone. Cliff gives way at Llantwit Major.
Jeez.
And it was literally where she was standing, and my son was standing.
Wow.
I was like, I'm not that stupid to go standing into there. You just
No, I don't go anywhere near the end, because one of the tragedies is if you go just along the coast a little bit to Nash Point.
Yeah.
Isn't Nash Point on here? That's a bit. Nash Point's
about
Llantwit,
isn't it?
Yeah. It's this all around same sort of area. All these are high cliffs along here. There's more castles to put on, but I think that's probably Nash. Oh, hang on, where's Nash Point? Anyway, it's round here anyway. It's about there, Nash Point. And there's the castle. There's obviously a large castle, and it's mentioned in the Mabinogion as well, which is quite interesting. And also, it's mentioned in the Percival, which is the old French account of when they go on a quest to the grave of Arthur. And they describe Nash Point. You can see where they land. You've got the old church on one side and the old castle on the other side. And they go up the Iweni River. It's all in there.
Wow.
More evidence for Arthur, and is where he's buried. And then, but what you have on the cliff is this castle. And what's happening as the cliff disappears, don't go near the top or the bottom, because if it falls off, no matter which end you're on, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
So now you've got about half a castle, if you can imagine it like that. This half's already in the sea. If ever there was a situation where there's time team nonsense and all that, they should do emergency archaeology.
Where is it? I want to see it.
Oh, if you're coming in by a boat onto Nash Point, up the high bit on your left,
I'm not joking.
You'll still see the ditches just about. But if you
that's fascinating, because me and my friend thought there was buildings there. There was all coins that looked like they were dressed stone, basically. And we were saying, this is buildings.
How did you know that? Where did you spot that? Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Took photographs. I got a video I posted last summer. A video of us looking at these on Nash Point and saying, "Look at this. This looks like a cobbled floor." And literally, they were dressed stone. There was no way nature.
Oh, I got to see that. Yeah, you got to put.
Yeah, on my channel. Yeah, me, my friend Melon.
No, you're bang on the money there. And on the other side, there's two. If you come up onto the other side where the cafe is, behind the cafe,
yeah, we were there. We were.
Yeah, sort of scruffy green area.
Yeah.
Well, you noticed in there's two kind of oval shapes.
I do know that.
One is the ancient church, and the other one is the grave mound of Kerry. It's a boat-shaped grave mound, and Kerry was in charge of the British Navy fighting off the Romans, and that's why you got Porth Kerry just up the coast, named after Kerry. Yes, it's all around us, the history. Yeah,
I worked in Porth Kerry when I was in in Stonemason. Yeah, Porth Kerry Farm. It was
there's not a lot there, is there?
1600. Oh, it's a campsite. A 1600s cottage. Apparently,
it's a campsite. I was going to say, it's not a lot in Porth Kerry, is it?
No.
Oh yeah, I'd love to know more about your archaeological stuff. Anyway, so there we go. This is Cymroglyphics. This is my book on the right.
Wow! Check your book.
Yeah, it's my book on the left. It's been published in America now. How about that, Lee?
Wow!
In America, I never thought I'd be published now, so I'm very proud of myself.
We're two historians.
As I'm very clear about it in the book, though, it's Wilson and Blackett worked it out. All right, I've just made it easy to understand. All right,
that's brilliant.
And it is easy to understand in there. And then there's some of the other subjects. I've just edited this together. This is an example of what I'm trying to do more of. This is where Jesus is buried.
Wow.
How the Holy Family came to Wales after the crucifixion, maybe with Jesus as well.
Wow, Jesus Evans Christ.
Yesy, you got to call him. Yesy in Wales. Yesy. And this is from their unpublished work, and you can read the book there. And what it also does, though, I could have done a better job with the title, perhaps, because it explains they're historical Jesus. I think there might be more than one, by the way, on the religious side.
Yeah. It's
various
in
characters.
Thomas that he had a twin.
Yeah, Didymus and that. Yeah, well, that's a weird one, isn't it? If he's the son of God and he's a twin, then how did his twin come about?
No, exactly.
You got to think about things like this, haven't you?
Yeah.
But what it does do, it goes apart. It shows his family tree and the fact that he must have been married. I mean, it'd be the most famous thing ever if a young man of his social status and everything wasn't married. Yeah, and this is where Mary comes in, and this is where we tie it back then to possibly astronomical things and stuff. But what Alan Wilson does a great job in there is breaking down the politics of Rome and Judea and how it all worked, how the crucifixion was faked, who agreed on it, how the deal was done, who did the deal. It's all that kind of stuff. And how they had to get out of Dodge quick. And then that's when Tiberius, going towards the end of the rule of Tiberius. Yeah. And this is verified in the Vatican records. They call it the last, Christianity arrived in Britain the last year of Tiberius. It's about 36, 37 AD on the conventional chronology. You have to caveat everything, don't you?
Well, that's okay. We got that overstanding, so that's fine.
Yeah, I understand. So people say Celtic to me, I thought, oh no, the Twitch is bad. I thought I got rid of that Twitch when people say Celtic.
I'm learning so much here tonight. I can't even tell you.
Yeah, so we got that's around Atlantic Major. That's where St. Patrick was born.
Wow.
Just up the road in I got to get it right. Trionen. It means the three ash trees. Trionen. It's just outside Lantwit.
Right. Well, I live in Cairo, and it's meant to.
The other Cairo, you call the one in my state the other Cairo. Yeah,
it's meant to mean
castles,
fort or wall.
Yeah, castles. Yeah, plural. Yeah.
I was wondering. I was looking on an old map only last night, the old maps of Wales, and they were calling it Wallia in Saxony era. You know when Mercia was about. So it was Wallia, and it's just like, well, that just says Wall A. And I'm wondering whether Offa's, they had a massive wall, and Offa's Dyke was actually a massive wall, like the Great Wall of China.
Yeah.
Because it runs the whole spine, and it looks at
you got fitting in with that. You got a place up in Lichfield called Wall, Wall, Wall. And that was the old next to Roxeter, the old British capital in this Roman era, as it's called.
Yeah, well, I went hunting like battlefields only like this year. Like basically, I've spent years doing it. I've done all the trenches. I've been to D-Day, sat on a cannon, narrow marshes, done all the D-Day thing.
Brilliant.
Done that. Went looking for the Battle of Boyne in Ireland, couldn't find it.
Oh, that's a great story, isn't it? Where was the Battle of Boyne? Yeah, that does seem mythical battle.
I walked along that river for hours. Nothing happened.
Didn't find any cannonballs or shots or anything.
And no one. I went in a couple of pubs. No one knew anything. Says, "Nah, man, it's not happening." But the funniest thing was I went to try and find the Battle of Bosworth Field. Only this summer just gone. Yeah. And we go there. They got a big,
I think I know where that is, by the way, and it's not there.
Yeah, no, they did know it was not there.
No, we got another lead, though. We think it's somewhere like 40, 50 miles away. It's not even close.
Someone's just asking. I'm really interested if you do know about something in my subject. It's called starforts, what they call bastions on Wikipedia. But we call them starforts. Have you seen these at all?
There's one I'm aware of them. Yeah, I don't think we've ever had any in Britain, have we? I don't think so.
Yeah. There's.
I thought your thing. You got. I think what they call them, marginal forts, something like that.
Marginal line. You're on about Fort Dumont, Fort Vaux.
No, the ones around the British coast you were showing the other night. You know the ones on the islands and on the coast.
Yeah.
There's on one of your videos. Yeah, they're called Marino forts or something. Aren't they? What's the name? Someone will know in the comments. The Marginal forts.
Oh, the Maginot is a Maginot line of First World War.
Yeah, not that one. Yeah, but they got a special name for those forts you were looking at around Britain. I don't think they're strictly star forts. They were defending it. Napoleonic forts you described.
Yeah. Well, the one you looked at, I posted was not a star fort. It was it's in Milford Haven.
Yeah.
It's a Napoleonic defensive position. But
yes,
I visited the star fort, which is supposed to be an English Civil War, only this summer. Up by Nottingham, and the place is literally covered in star forts. Yeah, really? I'm finding. There's one in Plymouth. They got a giant citadel, what they call a citadel, Plymouth there. And then I find most British cities at some stage, except London, like Portsmouth or Bognor Regis, even all these places on the south coast, were surrounded by these very intricate. What we exhibit fractal geometry, It's like it's super futuristic thinking
Yeah,
behind the
yeah.
Starfort. So
are they supposed to be to do with the shooting lines of cannons to make sure they can't actually hit their
well,
wall?
there has been attributed to it, for trajectories of cannons. You're quite right and stuff. But what we found in the practical world is, for an example, the American Civil War, when it kicked off Fort Sumter, which is a giant fort, the cannonballs just bounce off them because they're like stealth bombers. They're like like angled like so. They couldn't penetrate the Starforts. They just pinged off like this. Or in the case of Fort Sumter, which was made of like a Shelley property, red brick as well, they would absorb into it, proving that these Starforts that are all over the world, every single country in the world, I literally, we think that there's something else. I found.
Well, you say they didn't need that level of engineering to stand up. You don't think the cannons would knock them down anyway? Is that the point you're making?
No, they wouldn't. Not conventional. We think there's something else going on with weaponry as well. I think they're understated. They're understated, actually. I think that some of these cannons of the past are absolutely fantastic and massive as well. So
I don't know much about those, really. No, most of the stuff is more ancient, but I'm interested in it.
Well, we think that they just had high technology in the resets in the past. We think that we've reached the pinnacle of civilization right now. We're finding that we're probably the most retarded of all civilizations. They had.
Well, we got electronics. That's our big breakthrough in there. But if you look at some of the architecture and some of the quality of the workmanship in the fine arts and stuff, is in a different world, isn't it?
No, they use Asian principles, sacred geometry, and I defy them. To build a St. Paul's Cathedral now.
Yeah, with a massive tomb. Do you ever look at does the Babylonian cylinders come into this, do you think? The cylinder seals? Because they're remarkable. They're not much bigger than this pen, some of them. And they've got these absolutely incredibly intricated messages and stuff. And they seem to be designed, you can roll them. So they're actually, I can't remember the technical term, they're relief carved.
Yeah.
And you can roll them out and write a message. And they're only small. To carve that into stone, I don't think anyone's got any idea at all how they could have done that.
That's interesting. No, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I'll look at
You were talking about a Babylonian map. Which one were you on about? The oldest map on Earth, the one that's on a stone. This looks like a circle with that was
the Narmer palette, perhaps, was it?
Yeah, I think.
I think it's a map so much as a message, but I don't know about the maps. No, I was thinking the cylinders. They're like little, like little cylinders, like a thick pen, and you can just roll them out and you ink them up and they print something. I think. Another one is a mystery because they're really small. And you look at them on screen, you think, they must be this big, and they're not. And how they could possibly carve that onto stone. I reckon they must have had some way of liquefying stone or something like that.
Definitely. Some sort of
building the pyramids as well, maybe.
A resonance would do it. If you find the resonance of any object, you can equalize it. You can basically make them atoms shake, and you can turn it to a soft putty.
They must have had something like that.
The stones of Pumapunko, or some of these seamless megaliths that are around the place. There's some sort of technology going on for sure. They must be softening the stone, or
there's no way you could precision cut at a quarry a few miles away, and it turns up and boom, bang on.
Look at the old antique world. Try and imagine building the architecture in London or St. Petersburg or Vienna, for example, or Dresden.
Yeah, modern buildings are rubbish by comparison.
So but getting all of the stone, all of the materials there in apparently the 1800s, when they attribute a lot of these buildings have been built. All on muddy roads, because the whole world had muddy roads up until a certain period, like no infrastructure. Yeah, they got giant, unbelievable megalithic buildings.
Beautiful as well, isn't it? The artistic value is amazing.
Well, they give you a nosebleed in some of them. When I was, when I was in in communist countries back in the day when I was in the merch, you go in some of these places and they were impossibly big, and they literally, the presence of the building would give you just a headache. It was just the building itself, because they're just crushing in presence. And we think building a technology.
How do they do it? There was no real drawings or anything. That's another myth I discovered with one of the books you'll see now. Hang on, not yet. Architecture of Power coming up in a second. I'll talk about when we get to Architecture of Power. But that's about Fire London, how that was all arranged, and along with other things.
Yeah, interesting.
But with like St. Paul's Cathedral and stuff, there's no detailed drawings anywhere of how they did that.
No.
We're all led to believe that it was sketched out and everything. There's no actual
and the tale that
detailed,
goes along with it, with Resurgam, when he, when Christopher Wren asked.
Yeah, Christopher Wren just did some sketches, and I'll go and build that for me,
But he's another Scaliger. He's like created 80 odd churches, all these things that are attributed to him in London after the fire. He's built everything. It's like,
well, it was a few years after. One of the things you see in architecture, a few years after the fire, him and a couple of his mates were distraught or disappointed, not upset. What was the word? Like distraught anyway. Is the opportunity missed? Not the thousands of people killed by the plague and the fire.
The rebuild.
Just gutted, like the chance to build this lovely city with nice wide roads and boulevards and all that.
Yeah.
And they were gutted because the people got in there and just started living in tents and whatever. Right, so there we go. Let's just whiz these quickly because there are a few of them. There's Moses and Hieroglyphs on the left, which is my favourite book. Although I do need to, that's my favourite book. That's got all how they worked out the hieroglyphs. But then what they do, of course, they go and read stuff with the knowledge.
Yeah. So
you can read all about Egyptian history. And Alan Wilson.
Well, what is it telling us about their narrative then?
It's complete rubbish. Wilson and Blackett have got this. They should get blinking Nobel Prizes just for this.
I agree.
Just a half of one book. Because in there, what they do, if you look at the old Egyptian chronology of the dynasties, now they all fit in and everything. Yeah. It all goes back to these fragments of the work of Manetho. Well, Manetho was writing, I catch myself out now, I think 300 BC or something. So already a lot of this stuff was extremely ancient. It was as far before him as he was before us, more or less, talking about a couple of thousand years. So it wasn't like he was there. He was still like 1,500 years
after the time, yeah.
And then much later, about 38 years, we get Josephus, who's the sort of Jewish historian working for.
I know Josephus.
Yeah, he worked for Rome. Well, he tries to cobble it together, and he's like, "Well, this is a bit screwed up because we haven't got all the information." And it's just a load of nonsense. And this has been known about. I mean, people like Isaac Newton were writing in the 17th century. This is all rubbish.
Yeah, I've read his alternative chronology. I've got it. I've posted about it.
All right, okay. I'll have to have a look at that. Yeah. And the same with Velikovsky. A lot of people go into it, but what Alan Wilson does, which is genius, he says, it's all screwed up. But what he then does is put it all back together correctly. And that's what he should get a Nobel Prize for.
Wow.
He puts it all back together again. And you can see how it all fits, and all the dates fit, and all the people fit, the biblical characters fit, the Trojan War fits, everything fits. And it just blew my mind. And that's just like, we need to have a book just about how to do the hieroglyphs, which is why I came in and got talking to them. And we've done a few projects since then now. Then Trojan War, that goes on about that. But this ties in, as I put on the front cover, this has to be dismissed as a myth by the mainstream historians. It has to be. Because the whole thing underpinning British history is that we migrated here after the Trojan War. So that from the mainstream point of view, the Trojan War cannot have happened. This is how they do it. This is whenever you discuss British history, say, Trojan War never happened. So, of course, when his name, I'm a bit tired now. Schillinger, I think his name was. When Schillinger, something like that. I'm going to quite right. When he went excavating and found Troy, suddenly it was like, hang on a second, we got a problem, kind of thing. So, anyways, so all that's got Schliemann, that was his name, Schliemann. So anyway, once you put the dates right and everything, it all works. So that's good stuff. Oh yeah, this is King Arthur Conspiracy and Discovery of the Ark of the Covenant. Two great books. They're huge. I won't be redoing those. I'm going to break them up into smaller books.
Wow.
Because there's too much in each book. The King Arthur Conspiracy's got all about how to read Etruscan, how to read, it doesn't really show how to do it, but it shows you stuff they translate, and it tells you how it works. And I can make that into something you can understand, I think. The same with Phrygian,
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Oh my God.
Quite sure to say these things, yeah. And then, and that goes all through that side of it. And then it's got the whole thing then about the migrations to America with Maddox in the 6th century and all those stories. And the reason that's all in the same book is what you can then do is look at the cave drawings and stuff in America, and you can read that using Colburn, which shows it must have been people familiar with the language who are actually writing this stuff. So it's a huge book, and it's too much for one book, I think. So like a lot of people ask me to reprint that, so I might reprint it.
Well, that's fantastic information. Lock there. That needs to be out, doesn't it?
Yeah, Discovery. I better hurry up a bit. Discover the Ark of the Covenant. So as the name suggests, you got the Ark of the Covenant is the payoff in the story, which is supposed to be up in Ynys Bull, not far from Cardiff.
Yeah, I know Ynys Bull. Yeah.
Well, Ynys Bull literally means place of the Ark, so that was a bit of a clue, wasn't it?
No way.
And there's a massive mound there with an artificial mound on the top called Two in a Glow. So Two in a Glow is the place of enlightenment, or the burial place of whatever. There's a couple of different interpretations. Wow. So that's an interesting story, but it's about page 400 before we get to the Ark in this book, because you get there before you get there. What they do is decode all the Mabinogion, or the Mabinogi it should be. Mabinogion is a way of hiding it from what you were talking about earlier, the persecution of the Welsh language and talking in Welsh. From about 1200, you could get hanged just for having a pen and paper in Wales. It goes that far back. So they had to hide their stories. And one of the ways they did it was through what Lady Charlotte Guest called the Mabinogion children's tales, is actually Mabinogi. And that's got all the Welsh creation stories. You can see how the myths, and this is why it's such dangerous information, because the stories are the same as the Babylonian stories, and you can see the same characters.
Yes.
So the people will have moved most likely. It's hard to explain it any other way. So that's all in there. The Mabinogion stuff, it's got to have its own book. It has to, because we've done a lot of research. Yeah, we've done research since then, more about the Mabinogi and where you can go. And it's all about the planets, and it's just mind-blowing. So that'd be a great book. But someone at the moment is ripping this book off. They're called Trafford Publishing. And they did a deal with Wilson and Blackett. They don't pay him any money to Wilson and Blackett. And I've been trying to pin him down for a couple of years now, and I can't. Wow. So at the end of the day, the book's not too expensive, but none of the money goes to Wilson and Blackett or anything, but they've done a reasonable job. But what I'd rather do is do separate book, rather than just compete with that, which is nonsense anyway, is do a book on the Mabinogi, do a book on the Ark, and the other one, which is crucial at the moment, is to do with the star map on South Wales, which is about to get destroyed with all these wind turbines. This
mind-blowing.
Right now.
Yeah, you heard about it.
Right now.
I couldn't
Consultation finished last Thursday. It only ran for a week. There's going to be a design freeze, as they call it, in December. Then they start going to final thing, all signed off by His Majesty First Minister Drakeford, probably next June, and it'll be going up by 2023.
And it just be these wind farms.
All over South Wales. Everyone watching
absolutely disgusting. They're revolting. It cuts the air. The vibration near them makes you feel funny.
And the footprint is enormous. People think it's just the windmill, but you forget. Someone pointed out to me, and we talked to engineers about it. When they're building them, they have to get these giant cranes in, and they need huge roads. And then the crane has to have a platform to sit on. So there's enormous concrete platform for the crane.
Yeah.
And another concrete platform where it goes. All the cement for this concrete, all of it comes from India, from these disgusting limestone mines with terrible pollution. They ship it all around the world. Never mind all the steel they use. The fact none of it's recycled. After a few years, the propellers get chopped up. It's disgusting.
God, that is sick.
And it's all foreign-owned. All of it's foreign-owned. We've been sold out. Our country's been sold.
They're going to batter our beautiful countryside.
And it's everywhere. Everyone out there needs to look at Wales Vision 2040. It's an official government document showing everybody what's going to happen, and no one's heard of it.
And it's all of England as well, isn't it? Because I've seen it going up everywhere.
It's a racket. It's an absolute racket. Because they say, the Welsh government's investing 1.6 billion in renewables. No. Welsh government doesn't have any money. That's our money.
Yeah, it's always that money. When the government say they spend money, they're on about that money, aren't they?
Yeah, 1.6 billion. If you think there's 3 million people in Wales, roughly, men, women, and children, I mean, how much is that each? 1.6 billion. It's like we're all chucking in $5,000.
Wow.
And our land goes, and a chance to walk the dog, and our history. And crucially, for the historical point of view, it's not even the most important point, but all around the hills of Wales, you'll see, or South Wales, there's another one up in Gwynedd, slightly different. You can see a zodiac. The mounds on the hills are not random; they form star maps. And
I can see them from here. I've been up on the top of Garth Mountain, and I've been on the Carn and Macca Mountain, and right the way along Caerphilly Mountain, and I can see them from where I live.
Well, have you seen any mounds on top of the? Have you seen any mounds on top of the Garth?
Yeah, I've been in the Garth caves, and I always thought there was something going on with Garth.
Yes.
And when you mentioned last night about, I was researching the significance of Castle Cork, and there was an older castle there originally.
There was,
There's a couple of 1700s.
Eva Bach.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
something about that. I worked on Mega Castle once. Do you know about Mega Castles out towards?
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it. Yeah.
It was he said that we were only on like about a tiny bit of it, and I got told us like 10% of this is showing. It's all under there.
So it'd be massive.
Absolutely massive, and they've done it with a lot.
Mm.
I visited Caerphilly Castle, finds out that they built that the biggest castle and defensive castle in Europe, if not the world, right? And it was never ever used. Never used in a battle.
The Welsh took it out twice when they were building it, didn't they? But what's tragic, Caerphilly is a good example. They spend millions and millions every year on visitor attractions and stuff at Caerphilly Castle because it's Norman or wherever it's meant to be. English, call it what you like. And then up on the hill above it, on Thornhill, behind the Traveller's Rest pub, you got the Welsh Castle there.
And
that's where you got more grind. I think it's called. I always get this slightly.
Yeah, on top up by the Traveller's Rest, just go behind it and up a bit.
And
it's amazing.
You can't get to it anymore. It used to have public access, and they've chained up the gate and put stuff on it, so you can't get in from the car park in Traveller's Rest. Which I'm going to fight because that's a public right of way to go through there.
Yeah, sure.
So, you come back again. My cat's gone round the house. Out to the other door.
Oh, brilliant.
Come back round.
Oh, well, we've still got 600 people here watching. I hope you enjoy this.
600?
I'm literally mesmerised and transfixed by this information. I really am.
Well, let me tell you what those mounds are, just quickly, because you've got the 3 mounds on the Garth, which is the highest mount. Well, that represents the belt of Orion. So you've got the 3 there. And then if you imagine Orion, if you can imagine the archer guy. Hang on, let's stop sharing a minute so you can see me a bit better. Okay. Yeah. Was it all right? Hang on, I'll leave it as that because I'll get one belt to do it again otherwise.
Okay.
So you got this is the Orion. So you got the belt 1, 2, 3 on the Garth.
Yeah.
Then you have the sword coming down, which is might be a polite description. They call it the sword, and the tip of the sword is what's described as obviously a Norman Motte and Bailey castle. It's a little monkey tump we called it because it's near where I live. We used to play on it as kids. Well, that's the tip of the sword. And then up at Church Village behind me, you can see where there's a mound where the 1 foot is, which is called Regos. They're all named after the stars as well. The name's on the ground, which is weird.
Unbelievable.
You got the other one across on Eglwys Hill on the far side. And if you got around Morganstown and that, near where you are, you'll find you'll find more of them. And then the one you mentioned near Castle Cork, of course. If you know the constellation of Orion, the elbow tip is called Betelgeuse.
Betelgeuse, the
red star.
Red giant.
The red giant. Well, red in Welsh is Cork, you see.
Yeah.
Around mound is always Cork. It's always been Cork. That's why it's called Castle Cork, because it's the Betelgeuse of the elbow of Orion. So this star map goes all over the hills, and the key to it all, how you understand the star map, as described in the Mabinogi, when Arthur's playing this game of Goisboith, what they're doing is explaining how the planets move and everything. That's what they're really doing. There's not really these knight turns up and he tells him to bugger off, and another one turns up and he's flashing and he's comforting. What is this stupid story all about? It's describing what we were talking about ages ago, this conversation about planets erratically moving. That's describing them.
Yeah.
That's what it's describing. Now, up on St. Genid Common, you have the Polaris Stone, and you can see, first time I went there, it's like Dixie and Darren put me onto this, and there's 2 large stones and 1 smaller stone. Like, that's weird. If you go and look on Wikipedia or something, you look at Polaris, it's actually a tri-star. It's got 2 bright stars and 1 dim star.
It is.
How the hell do they know that and put it in the field? So the idea is you can sit in... Yeah. So you can sit in St. Genid Common. Can you hear my cat moaning? You're going to have to wake you on now, madam.
Aww.
All around is the stones, and that is like a university, if you like. You can learn all about the layout of the planets and the stars up on St. Genid Common. There's little bunches of stones and that all over the place, and we're trying to work them all out. And now suddenly they're going to put a bloody wind farm and dig up the whole lot. It's absolutely
insane.
It's insane. And they're saying, like, a stone. It's nothing to do with putting the stones in the museum or something.
Why don't they embrace our heritage? I don't get it.
Yeah. And what you need to do is look where the stones are. You need to look. If I'm on the Polaris Stone, I look through that one. That will show me where Orion is. And sure enough, there's the Garth in the distance with 3 mounds.
No way.
If I look at that one, there's Regulus, and then you got
they
the
must
Lion
be on the ley lines or something. Lined up on ley lines as well.
Yeah, we did test for the lays up there as well. Yeah, and that fits in as well. Yeah. So there you go. So all that's to discover the Ark of the Covenants. It's way too much for one book, because then you got the whole story of the Ark then, and then how the Ark got to Wales and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's hippie shakes. This lady here is from Tenby.
Tenby, very good.
Little America.
Oh, it's a lovely place, Tenby.
Oh, I love Tenby.
It's near there, that castle as I was telling you about. Hang on.
Okay.
You're not going to escape this time. You're going to have to wave to all the
like
nice
Spectre
people.
there.
I
Like
just want to be there to see.
my cat. Spectre's doing the Spectre.
You do another lap now. So work away all around the front, out the front of the house, come all the way around and back to the cat flat and annoy me again. That's a little routine. That is. She's lovely though. There we are.
Yeah, she looks lovely.
So so this is the Architecture of Power book. Sorry if I missed something. Then it's the. This is I can't think of a better way to describe this book. I designed the cover and everything. I still don't think I did a good job because this shows you would love this. I'm going to give you a copy of this because it's the same cult, if you like, of ancient Egypt. When the souls come in, what you were talking about earlier, when the soul comes in and there's the weighing of it and
they chuck it to the crocodile creature, yeah. Yeah,
and the way they burn the heart weigh it against the feather and all this kind of thing. This is how the city of London is laid out. The trading ship comes in, hits the berth.
Right.
So first of all, the churches and the docks and everything around there are all to do with the weighing of the goods, just like you get on the old Egyptian thing. Then that goes up to the city of London, where you take a piece of paper, you check, and that's to get the value. Then you got the West End, which is the wealth. And then you've got the death down towards Camberwell and that. So this is the same circle of life that you get in ancient Egypt. And what Roberts worked out, and this is why they were so furious when the Great Fire, which they arranged, and the plague, which they arranged, and the war, and the famine, the 4 biblical curses on the city.
I'd agree.
They wanted to redesign the whole of London around this Osiris cult. And they couldn't do it. But what you can still see is some of the churches still map out the Eye of Horus. And it goes down to the docks in the city.
Wow.
And you can see the different designs of the churches and how they fit in with this freaky Egyptian cult thing.
Wow.
As do the
cult of Osiris, yeah, definitely. That's a Phoenician thing as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're right on that. And it's just my dad's this. My father passed away. Before he died, just in time, I managed to get this book done, which is pictures and stuff from his RAF days. It's not really related at all.
My grandfather was in the RAF as well.
Ah, there we are. Look. So there you go. That's just.
I think it was 635 Squadron. He was.
Okay. Oh, my dad was RAF police.
A marshaller. He used to bring in the planes on the runway. With the
cool
bats. Yeah.
Well, that's my dad standing outside his billet there. Look, he's a little smart young man.
Wow, how cool is that?
Yeah. There's some interesting pictures and insights because he was in the RAF police headquarters in Germany. Yeah, typing for his country, as he puts it. Or used to put it. So there we are. Anyway,
he's on the other side.
On the other side? Oh, God, yeah. On the other side of the wall. He's on the other side of the Iron Curtain, was he?
Yeah, no, he was in the German army.
Oh, was he? He's going to come and kill us all, was he?
No, my father was 3 years in the Mannerheim front fighting Russians.
No way.
Yes,
wow.
I got a letter on my wall from Field Marshal Mannerheim to my
grandmother.
No way. Yes, way.
How cool
when,
is that?
My uncle Oscar got killed. Of course, they beat the Russians. They don't tell you about it. The Battle of Fire and Ice, where over 1 million Russians were filtered into Finland, into murder zones, and a small, really ill-equipped army of the Finnish and the Estonians.
Yeah. I do know something about that, actually, yes.
Basically caused these murder zones where they were just filtering them into valleys, and then they were just boom, killing them. They took out 1 million Russians. The Russians didn't take it. In the end.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing struggle out there, didn't it?
Amazing story.
Yeah, it is. I think the Welsh used a similar tactic with when the Angles and Saxons were invading us. One of the things we research a lot is looking at the invasion routes. It ties in with that Fortress Glamorgan. I sort of skipped over a bit, but you can see different routes into Wales and how they send them into dead valleys and murder zones, similar to what you described.
What do you feel about independence?
Oh, well, the trouble is, I'm a bit ambivalent about most politics, really. The problem is that all the independent stuff I see, they all just want to slide straight up to the EU. And as I put it, it's like, so you basically give me a choice of being run by a load of Saxons in London or a load of Saxons in Berlin, It's this bit of a choice, really, isn't it? I don't know.
I know.
I try to avoid politics, really. I mean, you can't avoid it, but I mean, I don't have any allegiance to any parties or movements or
anything in the official thing. Like I've watched telly in 20 years, so I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah, we chucked ours away a long time. Our boys have never known it. Yeah,
I just read what I'm interested in, and history, and just
Well, the trouble is, politics doesn't avoid us. This is the problem. It's like these bloody wind farms. I mean, I've tried to stay out of it, and now they're about to destroy all the historical sites.
Well, I thought it was very brave of you to bring
just ignore it.
Well, yeah, I thought it was brave of you to bring up the councillors and call them out on your video.
Don't call me brave. Don't call me brave, for goodness sake.
They were a shifty-looking bunch. They were,
yeah. Oh, that one! I showed all their pictures. Yeah, dodgy, young. Yeah, and all those directors of that company and everything. Yeah, I did go a little bit braver than I normally do.
Backhanders going on there to get that hurried through.
Well, I get a lot of stick already. I don't know. I don't know if you get any. I get loads of abuse.
I'm a flat earther. Stick. You know, we've just been blamed by the American media and all the world media for all the world's ails. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know it's the last day today in Cardiff for freedom without a passport?
Well, I thought it was yesterday. I thought it was already. I missed the day. Oh, damn! I missed the day today, did I? I thought it ended yesterday. Yeah.
So damn, I won't be able to go and see Tom Jones in the Stereophonics with a load of masked up people. Oh, what?
Yeah, me and the missus went to see a film last week because he thought it was the last chance we'll get to see a film for ages. So we just went.
What you see?
Dune.
I seen it. It's all right, wasn't it?
Yeah, very good. The only problem is I don't want to plot spoil the film for anybody, and I'm not going to plot spoil.
No.
But if you know the book, it keeps very, very faithfully to the book.
It does.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, and
if you know the book really well, like I do, there's not a lot of surprises in the film.
I think there's so many clues in Dune, you know, with the drug, the spice,
absolutely.
You know, and everything what's happening in today's society.
How many books did you get into it? Because I read about 3 before I sort of just gave up.
No, I wasn't that big into it, Dune.
See, my wife got into them a few years ago, Angie, and she's one of these avid readers. And when she started reading Dune, man, she read like 7 of them. I think it was the whole lot.
I dug it because the artworks were by a guy from Cardiff. You know.
Really?
Yeah, a guy from Cardiff.
Go on, who's that then?
Invented and drew the worm. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, no.
Well, what you find is Dune is incredibly, to use a word from Dune, is incredibly prescient. It really does tell you what's going to happen in our world extremely well. And as it goes on, the books get worse and worse because not worse, but more and more frightening. Because the young Paul Atreides eventually becomes the god emperor of the whole universe or empire. You know, it's a globalist kind of book. So he becomes the god emperor, and there's lots of scary things he does. And one of the things which we've seen happen a lot is he has what he calls fish speakers, and fish speakers, they're always female, and they're like these absolutely loyal. I don't know what you call them really. He's like his stalwarts. He puts in charge of everything, and they won't bend at all. You're not going to convince them or talk them out or anything. They're the ones he puts in charge of running everything. It's called his fish speakers.
Wow.
And then Andy, we use that a lot now when we watch things on the news and everything. It's best avoided in general. We have to have some idea what's going on.
So is the fish speakers. So is the Phoenician connection. And on telly.
I didn't think of that.
It's an anchor man on telly. It's an anchor man. So it's the anchor, the same as a ship, to anchor you to get.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't think of the fish connection. I missed that. But we just call it whenever we see someone.
Well, look at politics. You know, look at the Scottish ministers. You had salmon, and now you've got a sturgeon. You know, the Phoenicians love this fishy wickedness. They just got to stick it in, especially with politics.
Well, it's like all the vulgar names as well, isn't there? You got like Joe Cox gets murdered, and what's the name? Cressida Dix is in charge of the Metropolitan Police.
They do that on purpose, you know.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah,
it's like you having a giraffe.
That's a good observation. That is, because where we spot it is if you've got it could be anyone. It could be leader of a party or someone one of the celebrities presenting stuff, and you can see they are just not even analysing or thinking or anything. They are just going to push that ideology through. You can say what you like. You can have a photograph of me saying it's a lie, and they'll still do what I said. You know what I mean?
They will stick to that narrative no matter what.
Yes, well, they're fish speakers. This is what Paul Atreides has, because what he's afraid of is the whole world's going to become a cult of him, and it does, and he can't get out of it. It's weird. It's
that's weird.
There's 7 more books of it. Yeah, I give up after about 3.
Who's the author? Is it Philip H. Dick?
No, it's Herbert, isn't it? Frank Herbert, isn't it?
Oh, Frank Herbert. Yeah. The other science fiction writer. Yeah. Okay.
So these are books that I'm open to write. Most of this, by the way, when I say me, it's the royal me, right? Because as you saw that, what I mean is Wilson and Blackett compiled by me. All right, I'm just putting their work together and trying to make it into a nice narrative.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's their work, all right. So that's important to remember that. Yeah, the myth of Roman Empire, Roman Britain. What I've done. We started talking earlier was about I take it further than Wilson and Blackett have on this one. They show there's some kind of dodgy work going on, whereas what I don't think they conceived of, and I talked to Alan about it now, but he's getting old, it's difficult, is instead of it being a copy of each other, and the Romans marry into the British because they needed the credibility of, because the idea was, because if you go back to the story I was saying earlier, if some of the same people have gone to Etruria and become Romans, and the rest have gone to Britain, the trouble was the Romans were all slaughtering each other. They had no royals left. They had no royal blood. So if you look into official histories, when you had what's his name, the Claudius invasion, he married one of his daughters into the British royal family. So they got Roman blood in them. And also Plautius, who's the first attempted invading general, he married into the British. They all marry into British royal family. So when they had this crisis in Rome where everyone's been chopping each other, they got no royal blood. If you're an ambitious young Roman senator or something, you go and marry a British princess to get yourself into the claim to become an emperor. But I think that's the way Wilson and Blackett put it, and they do it extremely well, and all their evidence is brilliant. But I actually think it might be a little bit further than that. There was never the Roman bit didn't actually happen.
I dig that. I don't think it did either. No.
But their research, you should read the book Arthurius Rex. It's excellent because that explains.
It sounds fascinating. It really does.
And then the myth of the Anglo-Saxons and the invasion, all that nonsense. That ties in with the comets. The other book that should be up there as well. A book about the comet, the 562. They've done so much research on that. There's so much backing up for it. And like you said, that's why I thought you were going to go when he mentioned vitrified forts in Scotland, because he did mention that, didn't he? Because that's
I have mentioned in the past on my other channels, and I've talked about that comet.
The heat of the comets, what's melted them from above and everything.
Yeah, it skipped across, got too close, and just arced out and caused
and destroyed the country. This is the problem.
It destroyed the country, and it took apparently generations to recover.
Yeah, that's why some of these tribes just wandered in from Germany, and that there's no heroic conquest. There's no war or anything.
No,
it's just the country
desolate you, and they just come in after a reset, and
because even the brutes of England, the English records of it talk about confused groups of people wandering around Britain. You know, there was no society left; it was wrecked.
Yeah,
so we mentioned the creation stories, Mabinogi, all that, the star map, which is being destroyed. I want to make sure I didn't forget that. Maloc Americas, all it. So as you can see, it's massive. All this has got to come up. You know,
it's massive subject. Gives me shivers.
Well, it's about 20 subjects, really, isn't it? Have I stopped sharing now? Have I?
Yeah. So we still got up to 700 people watching on a Monday night. I hope you're enjoying Ross as much as I am, guys, because this is.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I'm loving it anyway.
I'm literally transfixed on anything you've got to say, actually. Because
the only thing I missed, sorry, if I just jump in, is when I was doing.
Well, it's not that I love to learn. I don't get enough chance.
Me too.
You know, usually it's me learning everyone else, and you're just a wealth of information.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, it's just, we're learning the same way as you, isn't it?
Refreshing for me.
No, we're on the same path. Your life has got to be a journey of learning. That's what we're here for, isn't it? You know, it's preparing for the next cycle or whatever you want to call it. You know,
with YouTube, you'll find. You know, I was like literally, I was in shock of how many subscribers you have, because you know there's channels out there with like 10,000 subs, and they never bring anything to the table. All they do is crank up, talk about other people or a pack of rubbish. They don't do anything. Yeah,
and I get a few hundred views. Yeah.
Well, if you know, some people are just famous for being just dicks. So, and it's just fascinating that you're literally doing cutting edge information. You know, this is paradigm changing history stuff, and so I think you should be getting a lot bigger, man. Definitely.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, let's hope so, isn't it? Yeah, but
well, make sure that
when I was doing the presentation, I couldn't see the questions on the comments, so I do apologise. All I could see on my screen was the full thing.
We got quite a few questions in.
I'd love to answer some questions. I'll try it. And if I don't know, I will say I don't know. What?
The Knights Templar Freemason still controls all kingdoms based off writing or religions, governments, etc. They go back to the Pharaoh rule beast.
Yeah. That's another book I want to do about the Templars, because like if you look in West Wales, the Freemasons and Templars and all this all seem to tie in.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't think we're the. Okay, there we go. All right, is that your book? Is it?
Yeah. This is.
We'll do some books training. So I want to read your book. Yeah,
go on. Holy Grail, The Great Reset. You would absolutely love it.
Yeah. Did you look at? Did you look at all the Masonic names in West Wales, like Cross Hands and Red Roses and all these places? Oh, you had a look at that, have you? Excellent.
Yeah, I put in a form of question.
I'll tick that one off my list. You've done it already. Great. Yeah. I'll have a read of yours. Much easier.
telling you the way it is. Basically, you've got to go off and research. Is that true? Oh, I'm going to have to find out for myself.
Yes.
And then when you do, you find out that it is true.
That was the most weird abuse I've ever had, because I get a lot of stick from the history. History gets nasty, man. You know,
it gets nasty, doesn't it?
Really nasty and horrible. And the worst abuse I got was, "Oh, you're going to say that classic you thing of what's that line you just said? Then go do your own research." Like it's an insult.
I'm just not willing to debate.
Of course, it's doing research. We got to research everything, isn't it? You know. Oh, thank you. Well, people subbing and stuff. Thank you.
All the hours God gives, I'm researching, and that's the end of it. I just, I fit in time to do things like cooking and family things.
Oh man, don't even look around this room or my garden or anything. It's absolute disgrace. The neighbours are all furious with me.
Well, you were live last
botanical experiment. Well, I just don't have every waking minute. I'm just obsessed with creating this content or writing the stuff or researching this stuff. It seems quite trivial to run a mower around or something.
It's not exactly the same birds, is it?
I'll give you a really embarrassing example. I shouldn't tell. Angie's gonna wallop me if she hears this. My missus. Yeah. I started decorating our bedroom 8 years ago, I think, and the masking tape is still on the walls. So I have to say, fair play to Angie. She's wonderful. She's really into this as well. So thank goodness.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I'd be killed otherwise. Any normal wife would have killed me for this.
Yeah, she was giggling at you last night, I heard.
Yeah, she was laughing about something I said.
Yeah, you're being comical towards the end, and she was just giggling in the background. You could hear.
Angie is with Joe. Well, thanks. Andy's found someone else. Someone who actually gets the paint out of a tin and puts the brush thing up against the wall now and again, rather than just has a pile of old paint tins rusting away. Yeah.
I wonder if Jesus was Welsh, and it seems to be all about.
It's not as daft as it sounds. I know it sounds daft, but
Bethlehem is in West Wales, and has been proposed as a birthplace. And I was thinking about, it's all about bloodline. It seems to be all about the blood and this test, and I get this distinct feeling they're actually looking for certain person or people or a blood group, and there's something deeper going on.
Yes,
with all of this.
Yes. Yes.
And I think it's something to do with the bloodlines as well.
Yes, I'll agree with all that.
Somebody there. Do you know the Finns in Ireland? Like you get the Finn name. Well, that's the Finns, the Phoenicians as well.
Yes, I've heard a lot of these theories. When I say don't know, I really don't know. When the Phoenicians, because they crop up everywhere. I just wonder if it's like a go-to title. It's the word I don't know. Yeah, it does.
Well, no one was mentioning it before we were on here, and they are very mysterious. It's very limited information, but once you dig into the British Library and other collections,
I got to see more about what you've done on that, because I think the Phoenicians are key to all this. I just don't know enough about them.
Well, it's very persuasive. Like, you can see that they are definitely, the Babylonians, and we are in Babylon, aren't we? You can see, this is fragments that they found in, funnily enough, you mentioned Anatolia earlier, didn't you?
Yeah, very important part of our migration, yeah.
In the Bible, they regard the people that live in Anatolia as the Taras, almost like the Tartarians, the Taras, occupied in the Bible era. But these are fragments from, Phoenician fragments from Baalbek, apparently built by Cain. And you can see, you'll see the Statue of Liberty, who is excuse me.
Yeah, I made a load of notes about your broadcast the other night, actually. I had about 2 pages of.
Well, it's an ongoing saga on Flat Earth British. I'm into my 2,000 videos here. I've got 5.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it's all my notes from your last video. There we are. I was paying great attention. Yeah, go on.
Well, no, I have. I've taken notes as well of all you're taking. I'm always taking notes. I literally keep them padded by the side of me.
I've been both saying, let's not make this too long, and I'm thinking I've ticked off half the things on here. I've still got the other half to go yet. We covered dragons, apocalypse. Yeah, why the Phoenicians thing? I've got that in big letters here. Yeah, so we're doing the Phoenicians thing now. Yeah.
Well, I said they are the Babylonians anyway, and these people are in control. You can see them on the architecture everywhere. Every single city, these deities that they show you of the Phoenicians. So they're there. They're there today. So, like you say, I don't think this what they call Rome. This classical empire fell at all. I think they're still in control of the legal system and the trade system.
Well, how long they've been around, isn't it? How long has everything been around? This is
I don't think we've been here actually that long. I'm
starting to think more like that as well. Yeah.
you know, maybe just a couple of 100 years. These are these.
We haven't got anything. Sorry to jump in there. Can you go back one on that last star fort or anything? Oh wow, look at that.
Yeah, that's
the green one in the middle. We haven't got anything like that in Britain, have we? Like the green one there?
No, this is in Holland. This is Naarden in Holland.
Yeah, well, so we haven't got anything on that sort of scale in Britain.
Yes, I was in one that scale there only a month ago.
Really?
It was called Sconce, and it was in Newark in Nottinghamshire, and it was
I was up near there long ago. I was in Nottingham. Yeah,
it was the size of this. It was the size of this. I'm always up there.
Much publicity. Was this me being stupid? Because I wasn't aware of them, and I'm
quite not only that. I wish I could show you this stuff. I will now in a minute. When I'll just stop sharing the screen. The place was called Sconce, but the map that showed you in this park, if you like, showed you the neighbouring town was called Edinburgh. It's like, hang on a minute. And you mentioned like about Edinburgh possibly being Jerusalem.
Yeah.
We sometimes think.
Well, that's Comins Beaumont. That is in his The Great Deception book. That's more his theory. But I can see there's a lot of reasons why you could think that. Yeah.
So this is the Babylonian Empire, the Palmyra. They built a Palmyra arch in Central Park in Trafalgar Square, and so basically all the Phoenician centres, because City of London's obviously not Britain, it's not England, is it? It's its own place, it's its own country, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a separate jurisdiction, yes.
Separate. Same as Washington DC. So these are
the Vatican,
yeah. They're on the Channel Islands as well. You got them on all of the Channel Islands have got quite extensive starforts.
Okay, guys, you're the ones on the coast. So I was aware of the coastal ones and the Channel Islands, but I wasn't aware we had any inland ones in Britain.
This is
go on. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. This is supposed to be the Houses of Parliament. Now, the ones you see there today,
sadly not.
Only supposed to be in there since 1850s, but photography.
Pugin's design, yes, good old Pugin.
Yeah, but the original version, going up in flames, they can't give us a photograph or any photographs of it being built, which is really weird for 1850s. You think, it's the most important document ever.
That's older than that, isn't it? I thought it's older than that. The current...
No, the fire was in 1835. Yeah, but it lay dormant for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me just show you. I
think you're real to something here, because you have that. It's called. What do they call it? Mock Gothic, isn't it, or Neo Gothic? Where it's copying a style. See, because there's a thing interesting for you on this one. In ancient Egypt, there's a theory called archaism, which is almost the same theory. Because what they had a screwed up timeline, they'd find one buried temple, doesn't really matter what it is, and they look at the pictures on the walls and a certain hair, like you picked up on hairstyles and clothing and all that kind of stuff. Then they'd have another site, which according to their official chronology must be 1,000 years later or even 2,000 years later, and they're wearing the same clothes and haircuts and things. So what they said was, what they had was archaism, and this archaism is a desire to recreate this lost past. So for some bizarre reason, everyone was suddenly dressing up in the styles of 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago. So it's like you and me, like we're really interested in King Arthur and everything. That'd be awesome. For now on, I'm going to wear, 6th century chainmail around the place or something. That's so ridiculous. And it suddenly struck me this idea of mock Gothic and all that, or Neo Gothic, is a similar idea, really, isn't it? They say that they're copying and recreating an ancient thing, but what you're saying is actually
I'm saying that they repeat all of this out of a handbook, the Tavistock Institute. Nothing new under the sun. I think they keep repeating styles and fashions. I wouldn't be surprised if 1950s fashions had happened somewhere in the past before. I just keep thinking there's nothing new under the sun. I keep thinking these are British starforts, by the way. This is in Darwin in Newark. The whole town is surrounded by it.
Okay, I see. Yeah, so it's a little bit different, isn't it? Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So
I guess I always think of those European ones. Okay, yeah.
Well, they are as extensive as the European ones. Oh, sorry, that's my time machine. Can't tell you.
That's a DeLorean. Yeah. What's that doing?
Can't tell you about that. I'm time traveling. This is where I found out all my juice.
Well, I remember when you told me about it in the year 2030, the last time we saw each other.
Shh! Don't tell them that.
Damn it, I'll upload it again.
I'm giving all my secrets away.
How do you think you know all this stuff? For goodness' sake!
Oh, this lady here, she's absolutely.
I just saw that comment. Yeah.
Jenny actually thinks that I'm some sort of reincarnation of either King Arthur or Sir Lancelot. She's been mentioning she had it in a dream. So, Puff Marion. I was going to go and try and visit there this summer, the place where they've did the prisoner.
Yeah.
Crazy narrative behind that. This guy, he's like just built all of these different buildings from different eras, neo-Gothic, classical, he's just Baroque.
But they're small, aren't they? They're not very big, though, are they? That's the thing.
They're
kind of reduced down versions, yeah.
So,
have you ever been there? I've never been there. I think it's a fantastic place to go.
No, I wanted to go there, but my friend...
I don't know why I've never been, really.
Phoned, and they were all packed up, in the hotels, but it was like just after the first lockdown, so I guess everyone tried to go there. But I wouldn't mind just driving there for the day to have my photograph taken on that chessboard.
Yeah. We can all wear, like, weird clothes.
I'll do something like that.
We have to go in weird clothes. I have to wear black and white clothes or something.
I got it. I got like a proper, one of them coats.
You got a stripy blazer or something like that.
Well, it's more piratey. I'll get away with it. It looks like an officer's jacket, but I'll get away with it.
Did you have the TV series? Because it's Patrick McGowan, isn't it? He was really into, really deep into esoteric knowledge and everything.
I know. And he was in a nightclub in Cardiff and put his hand on my mate Sid's leg.
I wasn't going there with the story, but your story's much better than mine.
Patrick McGowan, this is in Radcliffe's in Cardiff, right? It's like Patrick McGowan's over there, yeah? And Sid was sat by him and he was like, and put his hand on his leg. Sid come over and said, I just got touched by the prisoner.
That's my number two.
My number two. No, I'm not joking.
Oh, no, it wasn't number two, was it? Anyway, I'm the number two. No, but I reckon the last episode or two of The Prisoner reveals an awful lot, doesn't it? Have you ever watched it? It's
I watched it.
The last episode is just number 6. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. Yeah.
Brian.
Number 2. There's a series of number 2s, wasn't it?
No, he's always number 2. He never makes number 1, does he?
Well, that's the theory on it. Because it said, "Who is number 1?" And the guy says to him, "You are." But he continues the sentence. So maybe Patrick McGowan's number 1 all the time. That's my theory. Not my theory, but one I like. One I like.
It might have been,
He says, "Who is number 1?" He says, "You are number 6." And that slight pause.
Stinger.
Could be.
It's like finding out what happens in the end of Lost all of a sudden.
That's too recent for me. The telly's gone by then.
No, I watched it on.
Yeah. I remember The Prisoner when I was little.
Same, I watched them all.
I got a brain that could do with dumping information sometimes, It's like, I don't need prisoners swirling around my brain for the last 30, 40 years.
I got the type of brain that don't shut up at night. I've got to just get it all out, otherwise I won't be able to shut it down.
Well, you got me thinking even more now about the idea of no gap at all there. The chronology's definitely messed up, but I don't know.
And, I definitely think, this place is a reset cycle system. I think that we do
get recycle. That's the problem, aren't we? Well, it's going to be, I was talking to someone who should remain nameless for now, but he was saying it's going to come with, God, right off topic, right off history. When Elizabeth dies, which should be fairly soon. I think she's already
dead. I think they're softening us up. Okay.
I'm surprised she's not already gone. It's this old bloke. But I mean, maybe she has, yeah.
Well, the imposter's got to go anyway. Yeah, because it's doing my head in. Victorious over who exactly? And imagine living in a state called Virginia anyway. It's like, where are you from? I'm from Virginia.
Virginia, yeah. Sorry, someone there from Boston. I used to live in Boston. There we go.
Did you?
Boston, Massachusetts, yeah, just outside.
No way.
It's called Milton, yeah.
Good God. You're originally from England, aren't you, though?
No, I was born in Aberdeen. I'm a Valley boy.
Oh.
I did live in Derbyshire for a while, yeah, travelled around a lot. No, I had a proper Valley accent. My dad coached it out to me. Did you ever read the Richard Burton story? His real name's not Richard Burton, and this teacher took him under his wing, whose name was Burton, Mr. Burton, Philip Burton, I think his name was. Right. Not his real father, and he coached him into proper elocution. And my dad thought that was awesome. And he felt his whole life had been handicapped by having such a strong Valleys accent. He's now a Cullen boy.
Wow.
And it's true. It's part of the persecution of the Welsh again. It's the accent as well, isn't it? So I had coaching from a young age with a tape recorder. And
I always
shorten your vowels.
I have people
vowels,
saying, Can you do translations? I can't understand.
Well, from Cardiff into English.
And worse, Ely.
Healy. See, I love the Cardiff accent. I'd rather talk like that. My boys tell me off because I say I can't stop now. I start doing my Cardiff
I
accent.
sound posh, me, but it's just me.
You're the posh end of Healy.
Yeah, I'm not going to elocution lessons on nothing, but I think I enunciate my words properly.
You haven't got the Alan Wilson who's got like Grangestown. It's right down there, like in your boots.
Proper Kenny. He's old school.
Got like Cardiff, Grangestown, I am, mate, down the docks. All right.
Yeah, he sounds exactly.
No, you don't talk like that. You sound well posh, mate. You almost sound Fairwater posh. You do.
Oh yeah, my mother was from the Bay, and she used to go school in Morelands Road in Splot. And in the classroom next door,
there's a good accent, Splot accent.
In the classroom next door was Shirley Bassey.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
so
I was thinking about her yesterday. Yeah.
Our Shirl, she called her. She knew her. She knew her to talk to.
Oh, really? Wow,
yeah, she's a year above my mother. She was a year older than her.
So. Another proud Welsh person living in the tax haven somewhere.
I think she's a living legend.
You can't knock Shirl.
As soon as she opens her mouth, I get shivers. As soon as she starts to sing, I get shivers. She's fantastic.
Proper star quality, then, wasn't it?
And oh my goodness! I know. I was just saying she did a song with one of the last songs she ever did, actually, and it's called "History Repeating."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with a lemon head.
Yes, I do know that song vaguely.
And it tells you everything in that track, and she knows as well because she says in the making of it on YouTube, she said no, because that's true. I have to emphasize it about history being fake. She's like, so she knows. She's bound to anyway. She's an insider. So anyway, yeah, we've been. Oh, I'm glad one joined. It was 666 then.
Did you see our thing I put up last night? I've got to go to mate. My goodness,
yeah, 66 up and 6 down.
Yeah. I never get 6 dislikes normally. I had 66 likes and 6 dislikes.
Oh, I hope that's not my
I had to screen capture it, man. That was just because we were talking about the hidden meanings in the Bible, and that came up.
Yeah, it can upset people.
Do you notice it on your views and stuff, though? I'm sure YouTube takes the mickey with their numbers and stuff.
Well, no, if I go into say I finish a vlog and it says 3,000 views, I'll go into my analytics and it says closer to 4. But it takes till the morning for it.
But sometimes I notice the numbers sometimes though.
Yeah,
the numbers. I always seem to get the same numbers on mine. It's weird. No, the number of times I get 333 views and 33 likes, and that is just. I should screen save it more often, man.
They play with you. It's YouTube doing it. It's them. Just giving you a little calling card, letting you know we're watching. We're watching.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought with that one because that was real serious stuff about. Well, I just want to touch on it before we finish. I think I mentioned it. But this whole thing that you talked about with the maritime law and the legal fiction can be seen in the Bible, where in verse 1 of Genesis is God, and it's capital G, small o, small d. And then we get a bit further down, then you got the Lord God, which is another difference. What you also get then is capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D, uppercase Lord God. And that's like your name on your gravestones or your birth certificates. It's got to be block capitals.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And that's what they do in the Bible, because that is the legal representative making the deal that we all, consent and volunteer to. Now, whether or not you think this is selling your soul to the devil.
But it is. Why wouldn't they do it in the Bible as well? That makes perfect sense to me if it's illegal.
So this is actually a legal contract.
Yeah, contract.
They're not talking about, it's not God in here, as in, you're not talking to me,
the creator,
flesh and blood. In this case, not God the creator or creator. It's the legal representative of a lesser God, of the Yahweh God. And this is his, in the same way as we have to have a legal title in a court of law.
Yeah,
you are Mr. Leaker. You got.
That's my persona, though, isn't it? That's my legal name fiction. That's
exactly legal persona. Yes, exactly. Yeah. You bang on exactly right. Well, the person in here, the Lord God, is the legal persona of the God behind the Bible. That's the point.
Wow, man.
And you start looking at the Bible. That's the second.
I don't think anyone
Bible now. It changes the whole thing.
Has anyone ever done this? Anyone ever thought this?
No, I don't think so. No, I think it's all new. And this is just the start of a series on that because Luke has done some amazing work and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm going to get lots of little messages coming through. I think it's one of those scary ones. You're like, oh.
Yeah, of course. It is pretty big. This guy's really comprehensive and he really knew his stuff. I was really impressed.
He spent 12 years doing this.
Is that why?
12 years it's taken him, yeah. Wow. And he's just bursting to get it all out now.
So we've been 2.5 hours.
Yeah, there we go.
I know, we knew
Or
this.
one cup of tea as well. I said, Ange, make sure you top me
Listen,
up
you can
during the
join
show.
me again. We can do another show.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
And catch up with some more, because we haven't even really touched upon anything, really.
No, just skirting around, isn't it?
Scraped the surface.
Yeah, I remember reading once about some famous scientists getting together who were... they're both really highly established. I think Max Planck or something like that. I got really into reading all about that stuff back in the day. And they were saying that when they used to meet to discuss a point, for 2 whole days, they would just walk around together, chatting just to work out what they already know and where they are. And it's only about the 3rd day onwards they'd actually start then discussing their ideas. And it's a bit like that with this. It's very difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Like
it's
if you can't discuss this if no one's ever read a Bible or knows any of the stories, you know what I mean? It's like the same with other things. If you don't know anything,
well, read Genesis and you'll find that it's a flat Earth book.
There we are. Sorry, I'm waffling on again. There we go.
They nailed it in everything, and it's
nailed it. Yeah, it's quite scary the more you find out, really. But also the other thing as well is the old cliche. No, but the more you do read into these things and discover, the more you realize you don't know as well. I mean, I always think that, you know, we got most people just look at the surface level, and then you're a little bit cynical and clever, you might get the second level, and you got the smart people, you know, obviously I can see from the comments and things we're discussing it on 3, 4, 5 levels. But for all we know, there's another 10 levels we haven't even crossed our mind yet. This is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just a massive, you know, massive subject. You know, I talk about so many different subjects. It's hard to believe, you know, and all under the realm of love.
Yeah, what is your realm? Mine's supposed to be history. What's yours?
Alternative history, I guess, but you know,
authentic. I prefer.
Consciousness studies is something that I touch upon a lot. You know, true nature of consciousness. You know, so we talk about like metaphysical subjects, dreaming. You know, I think a lot about psychic abilities and things like this.
Yeah, well, I do a lot more of that than I put on my channel, really, because but my difficulty is, and you must come across this a lot. If I talk more about that kind of thing, it gives an open goal for those who want to slam Wilson and Blackett's history, and I feel like I let them down a bit. It's difficult.
I get you. Yeah,
you kind of lose credibility, you know, not in our world, but in the academic world.
No, I
get you. It's all the time. Yeah, of course you think that you're a bloody flat earther. You know what I mean?
Well, this is what I get. You know, a lot of people,
isn't it? They can hit you with too easy.
Instantly, they just presume that I'm stupid or something without even talking to me. It's like, hang on a minute, you know, I'm a multi-author here and on YouTube. I'm not that stupid. You know, do you want to talk?
Yeah, it's like I get. So you're saying blah 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 blah. I bet you also think the world's flat, and you're like, well, what's it got to do with it? You know, for one. But I'm also. Do you want to have another discussion about that? Should we have a few hours talking about what the Earth might be?
I just can't do it. Do you want to talk about this? You know. Go and look for themselves. What I'm finding here is everyone got their own journey. Yeah,
that's what life is. That's what it is.
And everyone's perspective is different. And I feel that if people feel that they want to go into that information and find out their truth, then then they can. There's nothing stopping them. You know, with me, I had a voice in my, voice saying to me, Martin, if you let this slide, you're going to regret it till the day you die.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, he was bang on as well, that voice, because I haven't stopped at this. We've come a long way. We've achieved a lot in this thing.
Well, one thing I can talk about on your channel perhaps next time as well is don't really touch on mine. It's this. Well, a few things. One is you mentioned dreams. Then I was talking to a very famous druid today, and he's into past life regressions and all sorts of stuff. But he's done more dreaming than anybody. And one of the things I'm going to be doing with him, when it gets a bit warmer, I think in the spring, is going up onto sacred sites on the hills and sleeping more or less rough, a little tent, maybe a sleeping bag.
But it's hot.
And they're the places to dream, and there's particular places in Welsh countryside. Everywhere in the world's got this. I just happen to know the Welsh countryside. I'm not being realistic. There's certain places with certain spirits all on the lake.
Well, don't do that in
and you're doing those dreaming there, so that's going to be an interesting experience.
Don't do it in Tinkin's Wood. Because they say if you do it in Tinkin's Wood at Midsummer's Night's Eve, you'll wake up in the morning either a poet or you won't wake up at all.
Is that? Oh, you don't wake up at all? All right, okay.
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
another
yeah,
hill
that's the three. You'll die, you'll go insane, or become a poet.
That's it. Yeah. Insane or a poet. I love the Welsh curses are really weird, so aren't they? There's some really weird Welsh curses.
Devil's Bridge is unbelievable. I've been there a couple of times. It's just the most mind-blowing thing. Devil's Bridge.
Yeah, go on.
Up in West Wales.
Yes, I know where it is, but I don't know much about it. I know.
Oh, you don't know much about it. Well, you know, the story, like, you know, you was touching upon Geraint last night. That gets me, that tale, every single time. It shows research.
I love the way you do that, by the way. Well, you have this amazing database of pictures. You just kind of...
I've got one of the biggest archives in the world.
You can find things in it. That's the difference.
Oh, I've got like a photographic memory, and I know where everything is.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. Yeah, give me 10 minutes. I'll find.
Well, that's what helps me do these, you know, these hangouts that I do when it blows everyone away, is because I got all things.
It does. It's amazing. That's what I find. What about this as well, though? Have you found that the last few years since I've started, mostly when I talk, I don't have any notes or references or anything. It's got to be from your memory, and you get stuck now and again. And if one of them, everyone has got a terrible memory, don't even say that. Just work on your memory, because it is remarkable what you can remember. And rather than my memory getting worse as I get older, my memory is like times 100 what it was a few years ago. I would never have dreamed a few years ago I could list off Hittite kings and British kings and dates.
Well, no, I've always had that because I've always like studied history, and like I like to, you know, pride myself in remembering capital cities, world populations. No, this is
right.
country.
Well, so you trained your mind. You've trained your mind. This is what
and chronologies as well, you know, and like the way things run in history. Is all of this is firmly in my mind, you know.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the official narrative.
Well, you've been training your mind since a young age. I mean, this is what the Druids would do. You know, they had these phenomenal feats of memory. But what the guy was telling me today, he says he's the same thing. He can tell you what he was doing 12 years ago, what day of the week it was, you know, that kind of stuff.
Well, I do that by association, though. I got to associate something with it to remember that.
Right,
and
okay.
what I'll do is, if I'm in a circumstance and I think this is a really good moment, I'll remember something around me. You know, like
that's a good idea.
Just the simplest thing. You know, I can't even think. Somebody throwing a ball, it doesn't even matter. And then it will firmly fix it in my mind as an important memory. But you got to recognize it when the memory comes. It's like, this is fantastic. I will remember this. And then you've got to go through a process of remembering it. I
find out to tell people as well, especially if you're in front of a camera with people watching, it puts a bit of pressure on you to learn it. Like, you know what I mean? You have to learn it, don't you? It's what this guy was saying to me, this old druid was saying today. Yeah, this druid was saying that what he does and what you're doing, I'm trying to get there, is actually quite normal that people used to be able to do this. What's happening is we just stopped doing it. One of the reasons is we write things down. And as
we do insane levels of research and, like, you know, the cutting edge stuff on the internet. So that does come from somewhere. Look at the old
I like Festad's comment. The greatest trick the devil played on humanity is to make us believe he never existed. Yeah.
Agreed.
Cardiff
guys. Cardiff Docks, biggest coal port in the world.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a quarter of the world's coal at one point, wasn't it? Around about 1900.
That's what they say. That's the old post office in St Mary Street in town. In Cardiff.
Fantastic building, look at that.
It is, but you know, you can't find photographs of it being built. And again, it goes. They got car park underneath it at the moment, but it's really, really deep, covered in Phoenician architecture. You know, the cherubims, the deities like Fortuna, etc., are covered in the buildings. Oh, that's me when I was on Castle Grounds.
Good looking fellow.
Excuse me. Anyway, I'll stop sharing screen. I'm sure you want to get off. It's getting a bit late. I know you've got kids going to school.
Yeah, it's fast. I could talk all night, but I do have to, my boys will be
taking advantage of this now. That was just fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Oh, good. I enjoyed it as well. Thank you very much indeed.
Let me just link you can find Ross's channel linked up below here. I'll just link it in the description.
Yeah, you'll find me. Yeah, just.
No, I got it here. It's all below, and I'll just link that into the chat. Make sure to give Ross a subscription if you would, please.
Oh, thank you. That'd be nice. Yeah,
guys, and
it's a very exclusive club at the moment.
It's a very exclusive club at the moment. No, it's not. I've seen your crowd. You get a good crowd.
It's not meant to be.
You get about 100 people in or so, don't you?
Yeah.
So
on the live one, on the live one you get to about 100 now. Yeah, but that's a recent thing now. It's crawled up. But that's all right. I mean, it's I'm not. You know, it's getting things to get things. Kung Fu chess. Yeah, that'd be a great game.
There you are. So make sure.
I was young. I want to do boxing chess. That would be the sport I'd love to do.
Oh yeah, that sounds good.
I love to know that. I like chess and boxing. I'd be perfect.
Same. I'm a big chess person. It's one
I
of my
have the gloves and the chess set. Which one do you want? I'm sick of the chess, I think. Get a bit old for that.
Wow. No, I'm not. I'm not too old for anything, man. I'm doing the same stuff as I was when I was 21. I ain't stopping. 54, yo. 54.
Good grief. I have to say, I didn't think you were that old.
Yeah, I am. I got a boy 32.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe obviously good life, you say. I had a peep around, I did.
No, it's not.
Well, comments. The view is also lovely. It's just been like one long love fest. Thank you very much. I felt so wonderfully welcome. It was such an enjoyable experience. Thank you.
Oh, you're so warming. Look, I knew as soon as I seen you that my community would warm to you because I did. So I knew that
Yeah, no, it's so nice.
More than welcome.
Yeah, nice warm feeling in it. You know, we all look after each other in this world, don't we? And share the love.
That's how they are. They're lovely, lovely people.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we're going great. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I attract a good crowd. This lady
here. No, any aggressive comments at all. You know, all those people. Nothing aggressive or negative.
No, that's my best friend.
A challenge, by the way. All right.
Melich, who loves chess, and she's really good at it. You'd have a hard time beating this lady.
Oh, okay. I shall have to get the old sets out.
Yeah, that's the one when we go to the Starforts. You know, we've been to. She nearly got killed at Lavenock. At Nash Point. So we do
with the quarry.
Yeah. So we do all these historical visits together, which we will again. And we
don't go near those cliffs. Yeah, on the top or the bottom.
Yeah, 2 days later, and it was ironic as well because I discussed and I sort of in my mind seen it falling as well. I was thinking, and this young lady here, she's a good friend as well. She's got a channel that does alternative history. You'd love her stuff. She does like Scotland, Edinburgh, Inverness, that sort of stuff about the architecture, and her channel's Future of the Past. It's a really good name, isn't it? Future of the Past.
The Future of the Past. Oh,
yeah.
It's got me thinking. Yeah. All these love bombs arriving. Look at this. Wonderful. Thank you. This is great. I was going to sit here reading the comments all night now. I was going to keep scrolling back and forth. That's my evening sorted now.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Alva Billy. Thank you, lovely Hippie Shake, who's in Tenby. Do you know how you get to Tenby? 1B, 2B, 3B, 4B.
Yay. Boom.
Silly Cardiff joke.
Boom. He's here all week, folks.
Flat Earth music. Oh, Fat Chord music. Thank you for coming in. Steve Watson, my brother. Good to see you. Glenn Sketches, who's from Australia land. Dragon Sage also. Festad Munster, who I call Festy, who's been with me for years. Shari Timothy. All awesome people. Thank you for bringing your vibration. Hope you learned something tonight because I did. I've learned loads. And there's Flat Earth Subgenius Dan, my friend, for years as well. And Glyph. So Cymroglyphics, Glyph.
There you go, Glyph. Yeah, we can do
about that, did you?
You can do it. We find what the glyph is. That'd be good.
Yeah, I have been proposing stuff about the Old Testament happening in America and Egypt in America, like Memphis being the old Memphis, etc. But some of this evidence for Wales is much more persuasive and there's much more documentative proof, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a whole load of stuff that you could add into that as well. You'd be amazed. Yeah, Old Testament and New Testament.
Oh, there you are.
It's
awesome talk.
It's hard to work out where things started and went and came back again and all.
I know it's so skewed. It's hard to pin anything down. Listen, what do we really know of anything 100 years ago? Never mind 200 years ago. Not a lot.
It's so refreshing to hear that. That's one of the things I really like about your approach. And I try and have the same approach. You can't be absolute about anything.
No. Look,
and you look at India, you find some new evidence, you change your position.
A day later, it's not true anymore.
All this stuff from Luke, I've only found out the last few weeks. It never crossed my mind before then. And suddenly I have to rethink about so many things. And I'm going to be backpedaling to do because I'm always from the beginning. I'm finding out stuff, I'm sharing it as I find it and giving you what I think is the most likely. But anyone who says, I know, I think that's
not the way to go. That's not true. The truth is being open, Like I say, I've looked at stuff that I thought was, this is a definite. And then a week later, been proved. Guys, I've just found this and everything I said is not, true. So I don't say it as, an absolute. I don't think there is a thing as an absolute in this place.
Yeah, we're trying our best, isn't it? That's what we're trying to do.
That's all you can do. If you keep honest at it, that's what's most important. To let,
share the evidence you find, isn't it? Share the evidence and then let people do their own conclusions as well. Because I love reading comments and that, like I do mine, because there's so many people on like you're in a similar situation to me. We could cover quite a. I always think if you got all these towers in a row, and each one's a different subject, I'm kind of skimming along the top, and there are people in my group, I've actually got them here, who really bored down into particular subjects, and they're the people I like to talk to and find out what's going there, like, you know.
Yeah, it's time. You know, if you've got that time,
there's people who know more than I do on all these subjects.
Agreed.
Yeah. I'm just skimming on the top of all of them, and there's people who really know, and they're the people you have to talk to then, and find out more yourself, isn't it? And you gradually work your way down, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, thank you for basically learning me tonight.
No thanks needed, man. It's been absolutely tremendous. Thank you.
Absolute pleasure to learn this sort of information from somebody so close who's so much. It's fact.
Well, if they allow us out, we should go for a pint or something.
Definitely, we'll do that,
brother. Go to the old arcade, right?
Go to the arcade and we'll have a look at something historical for a quick flat earth British blog.
We'll do a bit of arcade, we call it Cardiff House Park, yeah? We'll do all that stuff.
Yeah, I've already interviewed
the theologian
in St. John's.
Pardon?
I've already interviewed the theologian in St. John's Church.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to dig that one out. Is that all your videos, is it?
Yeah, it didn't go down well.
Well, with him, with anybody, or
it didn't go down well. Some of the questions she didn't like at all, so they never do. So yeah. I've interviewed.
Aberdeen's finest. Here we go.
Yeah, I interviewed a priest in Oxford. Ended up on the BBC News. I'm not even joking.
I've got to tell me more about that. I've got to go. But I gotta go. You can't leave that hanging now. Come on. What happened? Come on. How did you end up interviewing a priest for?
Oh no, I was just on a big flat earth meet back in 2016, and hundreds of people turned up, about 100 people or so, and we were all like going through the streets. I interviewed a vicar, and somebody filmed it all, and next thing you know, it's on the BBC News, like flat earthers invade Oxford.
All 100 of you.
Yeah, me, like flat earth British, basically, and his
armed with violently nasty spiral-bound notebooks and things like that. Yeah, that's out to destroy the world.
Yeah. Oh, leave that to me. I'm really good at that. Master disaster, they call me.
I got a really nasty pen. You're not going to have you.
In a year. Oh, thanks, Ross.
Cheers, mate. Let's do it again soon. Yeah, love to.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, let's go all again. Yeah. We might delve into any of these subjects rather than dancing around. Or I imagine we'll just dance around again, but we can try, can't we?
No, we covered a lot there. There was a lot of really juicy information. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Really pleased. Really, really pleased.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for the comments. Yeah, North Star. I always say Heduk, which is like YouTube. YouTube is always say peace, don't I? So I always say Heduk. Oh, you'll do this. Go on. Yeah, I keep seeing this.
Platforms is what I do.
That's just you, is it? It's not like.
Well, no, because everyone else does this, but it turns out it's a Masonic symbol. So I thought,
Oh, is this like a flat Earth thing? Is it? Oh,
yeah. Well, not necessarily.
Right. No, okay. I don't know.
I'm not doing anything Masonic, so I'm not doing that. I'm not doing any Masonic signage, and the only one that seems safe is a flat flag. Because the Romans do that, apparently, or that, with the.
Well, some people say it's sword out or sword in, don't they?
Well,
this is just a Hollywood myth, this one, isn't it? But I don't know.
So which one
is it? The whole of Rome's a myth, so what am I on about?
Keep it flat, horizontal, and then win-win. And that's what I've done. And it has been a winner because I got people in New York City flat thumbing one another. It's excellent.
Ah, yeah, okay, I'll do that. Yeah, I can do that. All right, fine, I'm up for that. There you go. Hedu with a flat thumb.
Much love, Zach. Much love, everybody in chat. Much love, Mel. Much love, everybody. Thanks so much. Nostaro. We do say Nostar here as well.
Yeah, Nostar Pope.
They put up with my Welshness. Anyway, I'll see you in a week, guys. Okay, keep a look on Flat Earth British for any developments, anything else happening. Make sure to subscribe to Ross's channel. That was fantastic information coming out of there, guys. He needs a lot more subs, and I will keep on sharing him and keep on shouting him basically until he definitely gets more subs. I will not give up on this because there's a lot of nonsense out there, and this is cutting edge information that has been suppressed a lot over the years. So he's carrying the baton of truth, which is really, really awesome. Thank you for doing that, especially with these two fellas. Brilliant. So love you all too. Anyway, I'm going. I'm sure we're all going to get a bit. Peace and love to you all, and I'll see you very soon. Thanks for popping by. Make sure to like this and all the other YouTube stuff. Okay.